watch it every day. I watch it once a day,
Oh,
just to hype myself up.
I
Or I like
know.
sit down at my desk, I get ready for work. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I know. Listen, sometimes you're sent things.
Ugh.
I didn't do it, Phil. Oh, I didn't do it.
Danae
That
did it.
wasn't me.
No, we can thank Slab for that, who very, very hilariously sent that to me today, buddy. I think you'll like this.
Oh man. So that was, I believe, Slab took a photo that he had of Ian dressed as Q, and then hyper merged that with someone going on stage like a champion.
Yeah, it's a little. I think it's little Yachty. Yeah, and yeah. I mean, if you've got a picture of me dressed as Q, I don't know what else you're going to do with it, other than that, or possibly this.
We have a request to do it again.
Oh, okay.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
It's just incredible. It's incredible.
Oh my god.
Slab did let me know how it was made. It was made with an AI tool where it takes that video and it AIs a image onto the body of the actual person doing that. And yes, AI is evil, could be the downfall of the world. What I said to Slab was, I'm okay with this because there's no way on this planet or any other would I have paid to do that. That is, I can wholeheartedly say, not stealing work from anybody, because that shouldn't exist, wouldn't exist. It's goofy, and it made me laugh. So
yes,
much.
that was supposed
Kind
to
of
be
beautiful.
Ian. Yeah. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Captain's Pod Live on the CinemaSins podcast network. We go live every Friday. Welcoming you into the production of the podcast Captain's Pod, where we cover Star Trek. We are live on multiple streams. We are an R-rated show, so just keep that in mind. We are live on the Captain's Pod X. We're live on YouTube on the CinemaSins Podcast Network. We're live on 2 different Twitch channels, the CinemaSins live channel and my own channel. So if you would like to join other live chatters and you're not seeing them where you are, you can either migrate to one of the other platforms or just hang out where you are. We appreciate you watching from wherever you watch. The kind of format of the show is that we get to hang out with you for a little bit, answer questions before we actually get into the production of the podcast. Today, we're going to be covering Face the Strange from Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 4. We will pin your comments as they relate to the show and try to have them up on screen during the show, but it's Ian and I producing everything in real time, so we oftentimes fuck up.
Or just interrupt with the video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take the video and the blue and put it in the countdown videos. The blue one. Oh, the blue one.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
Yep. It's amazing. I forgot to say this yesterday, but last week, and I think we've mentioned it before, but the doodle that we have down in that corner is from gentleman cartoonist Ken Holtzhauser. Thank you for the doodle.
I love it.
We love it. It's so
I think I'm holding a moopsie.
You are holding a moopsie. Yeah, I thought
very
it was
dangerous,
but it's a moopsie.
I feel like if that's true, I have suddenly and somehow won the moopsie over, and I've trained it, because otherwise it would be consuming me.
If any being could win over the chaos that is moopsie, it is Danae. I am certain. Any
Okay.
shenanigans this week?
Well, I don't have any additional beings in the home other than the ones that that we know about. The normal lineup. Like if I was a sitcom, it would still be starring the same people.
Mm-hmm.
But here's an interesting bit of news. A couple months ago, I was petting Thunderstorm, aka my neighbor's cat, and I was squatted down, and he walked behind me and then jumped up on my shoulders, and I was very surprised and entertained by this.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this morning, he came over, let him in. Actually, I think he's downstairs right now. So there's a chance that once again
That
I'll
makes
be
sense.
interrupted at some point to let him outside. He's sleeping like downstairs, which is below this particular room. So maybe like the noise of the show will wake him. Who knows? Anyway, this morning, back on track. I thought, I wonder if I'll do it again. So I squatted down. He walked behind me. And so I patted the top of my head. He jumped up onto my shoulders, 2 paws front on this side, back paws on this side, did a little shuffle, and then completely went limp with both of his legs falling down round me as if I was wearing him as a shawl.
Really?
I swear to God. And I was like, this is so fun. I didn't actually
perfect cat.
do it because I didn't want to scare him, but I was like so excited because
That's
I
what you
feel
want
like
every cat to do.
I know. So this cat just gets even better. Right?
That's
and
amazing.
I was talking to somebody who I gotta, yes. And I was talking to somebody. Now, this person is what I think some people would put into the granola category, where some of like the health stuff that they believe, it definitely is more like on the, like what I hear people say, oh, you're very granola.
On the woo-woo side of things?
Yeah, maybe more woo-woo. But they said that according to research, professionals that they are quoting, which may not be your scientific professional that you prefer. I'm just going to pass on what I heard.
Which is that knowledge now.
Which is that because I'm not allergic to this cat. Apparently, I've not been sneezing. I've had no allergic reaction, which has been a surprise to me because I haven't had cats my entire life since I was allergic, really, really allergic growing up. And I've gone to people's houses and had reactions. My friend said that according to research, potentially granola research, cats that have pink paws are considered white cats, like they're more the white coat cats, are oftentimes not triggering allergies.
Interesting.
Right?
I can buy that. It could just be linked to the same gene that also decides pink claws. Yeah, pink pads.
Pink pads. Pink pads. So I checked his paws while he was around my neck, and he has pink paws.
Checks out to me. Yeah, makes sense. I will check Shadow, my parents' cat, because they aren't allergic to it either.
So excited.
Love that. Oh,
yes, I do have the doggos here. I also have a whole bunch of piles of stuff that are for Iris's birthday party this weekend. So their usual placement for the doggos in the background has been taken over. They're not too happy about that.
No. I wonder if she fed the dogs helium, their voices would get really high.
Oh, Gabarito, you want to come say hello to the audience? Okay, come on.
Of course he does. Still don't believe he doesn't have a mustache.
I know. Thank you. Yeah, she's getting older, which is weird because somehow I'm not aging. You know, how does that work?
Reverse aging. That's because you got stuck in a time bug.
Time bug, okay.
Yep, time bug. Oh, he loves that so much. I do love the random messages that we get before the show starts. Phil said, hello, Poppet. I'm going to send an A for allowing a jellyfish story to be the reason they were late last week. Yeah, actually.
What?
Yeah, that was actually because that happened in what you don't know, not you, but the listeners at home, that happened in the middle of the email section. So it wasn't just outtakes derailing things. It was we'd already started the show.
What did I do? I don't remember.
They were just like, wow, this prediction makes me want to talk about jellyfish. I was like, go for it. Fuck it. I'll put it in the outtakes. It's fine. I chop up this show so much.
Oh my God. The Moopsie keeps you young. Yes, that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, dog. What do you want? It's massages. He wants more massages.
Mm-hmm. In a similar vein, Sarah said, did y'all know babies don't have kneecaps? I did not. When do babies grow their kneecap?
True.
That doesn't feel true.
That's not true.
When do the kneecaps get grown? Because how else does it? How do their legs bend if they don't?
I think what Sarah is saying is that it's cartilage that's more like unformed.
There you go. Yeah.
Let's see if I can remember this from my long times ago, which is that there's parts of, so like a kid comes out of you bendy. Thank God.
Thank goodness. Jesus.
Small and bendy. Thank God. Having had this happen to me.
I was not small. I was not small.
And so there's a process. Okay, well, is it in your information?
When the child is somewhere between 2 and 6 years old, the cartilage patella starts forming a center of bone. Often the kneecap will start to form bone at multiple centers within the cartilage. About 5% of the time, some of these bone centers do not fuse together and the main bone center. So
yes, you have the cartilage, but then there's a process that goes. Oh, ossification.
Oh, ossification.
Look, let me. Am I right?
Osteo is the bones. So
Ossification.
That makes sense. Yeah.
The process of bone formation. The process begins between the 6th and 7th weeks of embryonic development and continue until about age 25.
Fascinating.
Anyway, so maybe I'm just a child, and that's why Moopsie doesn't eat me because I don't have bones. I'm just mostly cartilage. Yeah, I'm all cartilage. Makes sense. So Moopsie can't eat. Well, Moopsie cannot eat babies. No, or wouldn't be interested in them at least.
There's still some bones in babies. Enough, I would think. History lover, I'm so sorry you
totaled your car. Are you okay?
I'm glad you're okay. Like,
holy
I'm guessing
shit.
you're okay.
Okay, fine. It's your turn. It's your turn. Come on.
You can't massage one dog and not the other. He knows that. He knows that.
Okay, he knows that.
Twix, you need a beard.
He looks so different.
I don't like it.
Is this just like what people want? They just want to watch me massage dogs.
I don't think I'm needed here. Yeah, I think that's all. That's all that's needed.
I like when he starts to melt. He's just like he just turns into a puddle.
Moogie. History says I hurt my hand. Someone sideswiped me to avoid debris in the road, which sent my car headfirst into a concrete barrier.
Shit!
Wow. Heard of brakes much? Wow.
So
I'm pretty sure that makes them at fault because they're avoiding debris.
Did
but
your
you don't
airbags
do that at the expense of somebody else?
Did your airbags go off? He is a good doggo.
He is a good doggo.
Have me a plushie Moopsie thinking of weaning it. Wearing it, not weaning it. Different.
That's not even a typo.
Very different.
Yep. That's Danae thinking about babies.
To Dublin Comic Con on my shoulder over an LD. Yes, you should.
Oh yeah.
And then you should have like where like the Moopsie scans people for bones.
That's amazing. I think gradually as you go throughout the con, your like bits of your body should start deteriorating and getting floppier.
Yeah, airbags went off. Okay, so that's usually what totals a car too, is like when those go off. Oh my God. So I hope you're okay. Please take care of your body. I need to have like something that pops up that's like a little segment that I do, which is like, what is it called when you give somebody advice they didn't ask for? Unsolicited.
Yep,
yeah.
Unsolicited advice.
Like a little banner that pops up. It's like Danae's unsolicited advice. You didn't ask me for this. But when your airbags go off, it hits your body and it can cause micro trauma. Like it can cause like whiplash, but like on a smaller scale where maybe your head didn't whip around, but it's still like such a huge impact. And it can cause like a lot of bruising and just stuff that you don't see on the outside, but it's happening on the inside. So you might be really sore and things like that. I recommend an ice bath, which sounds terrible, but it really can help with some of your potential trauma. Yes, they really, really can. They're very, very serious. And everybody in the chat is wishing you well. So please, being a white person, like, yes, my privilege means I get to give you advice that you didn't ask for.
Try being an English one.
I do care. That is. Thank you guys so much for understanding my heart here.
I thought that said Danae caress. Anyway, no,
I
that's
caress.
a different hashtag.
I do to the
Different hashtag.
puppies. The puppies get the
That's
caresses.
That's the dog thing.
Speaking anyway,
of
I hope you're okay. And if you can't do like ice baths and stuff like that, oh, okay, I'm glad. So what I have, and actually, like, I kind of want to go get one and show it to you, but you can imagine it, is like a big, it almost looks like a pillowcase that has been filled with like rice, and you can put it in the freezer and then just like lay it over your body. And it's been sewn, you know, kind of in a systematic fashion, so where it's got the little pillows, sort of like a quilt-esque thing. If you want to see it, I can go grab it if that helps you. But they're not super hard to make. You can use a pillowcase, and then, you know, if you have someone in your life that can sew. But I keep one in the freezer all the time. I have one in my deep freeze right now. And so if I need to, you can just like lay it over your body. And then because it's made of rice, it has that sort of like longer lasting effect, just keeps its cold longer. And in a great way, you can also heat them up either in the microwave, which they take forever because I have a huge one, but you can also bake them in the oven if you're really careful and watch it. And they retain heat really, really well as well. So
nice.
Who's at my door? I highly recommend that. It can help a lot with the healing process.
I had.
This is what's happening at my door right now.
The 2 kids.
Oh Lord.
What do they want? Are you going to go and see them? Okay, she's going. She's going to go deal with them. What I did want to share on the cosplay front, I had an incredible idea, and I now want to do this cosplay. I'm just going to share my screen. I want to do that, but with a Moopsie where Beverly is. So just a big straw coming out of my head, Moopsie attached to the end of it. And that's it. And that's all I have to do for the cosplay. That would be amazing. And it would make sense to maybe 7 people. I would love that. Oh, no, I don't want to go full screen. Not just me. No, don't want that. That'll do. Nick, I saw a message from you. Not to derail the conversation from car accidents. That's okay. I did it first. But can we all get serious for a second and discuss what kind of Save Lower Decks campaign the CinemaSins can run? Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. My cynical brain says none of the campaigns are going to work, because this isn't even about finding Lower Decks a new home. This is Paramount saying that Lower Decks is wrapping up and it's going to finish, and I think that's it. And I think we just kind of need to accept that streaming things are going to get 5 seasons if they're lucky, and that's going to be it. They're going to get like 50 episodes, and that's it. And that makes me sad, but I'm kind of understanding why it's happening. Yeah, it makes me sad.
The sin, as always, is kids.
Fucking studio heads. Okay, so what did the kids want?
They wanted to know if I would pay them to mow my lawn.
No. Go away. No, you should support kids and shit, but stop taking my money.
I mean,
service.
I said, how much do you charge? And they said, well, we can give you an estimate. And I was like, okay.
What?
Like, it's so funny how sometimes, you know, like they've obviously been given advice. You give them an estimate. And I said, well, how long will that take? And they said, well, if you don't mind, we'll just take a quick look around your yard. I was like, that's fine. And I figured they were going to go into the front and the backyard. So I stood there, and they just like backed up, and they glanced left, glanced right, and they came back. It was maybe like 20 seconds.
Sake.
It's cute. They're playing and being adults.
It is
it's
adorable.
Really cute.
Yeah, they're pretending. Yeah, it's very transparent.
If it was like, if they came to me and they're like, we have an LLC and here's my EIN number.
I would be impressed. I was like, take my money. There we go. I guess make it until you make it, like until it actually becomes natural. But it's yard work. Just $50. It's fine. Do it.
Well, what was strange is they just looked at the front yard and they're like, could we do it for $40?
Could we? No, you say my price is this.
I was like, oh, they were so close, you know, so close. Little businessmen. It was great.
I guess there are much worse things they could be doing. I don't like door-to-door stuff. Blah, blah, blah.
My bored elderly neighbor mows our lawn without our
Oh,
consent. It's
no, that's-
awkward.
What if you're trying to grow it?
I mean, this is the thing. So I do pay someone to mow my yard because I literally don't have the capacity to do it myself. And it is like a father-son mowing duo. Last summer there was a kid that came around and he was like, I'm saving up money and my dad and I are going to pick up some yards, and they gave me a pretty good quote on it. So I was like, okay. So they mow down every plant they see. If it's a beautiful flower, they give no fucks. They just like mow it down. So
that would annoy me
so
much.
Iris planted like a blackberry bush in the backyard. They took a weed whacker to it. Wow, it just like killed it. So I'm like, you're not a professional. You're like a dad-son duo and you're helping me. I mean, yes, I'm paying you. So then we set up a little barrier around some of the flowers, and it's a half circle around like this little tree kind of thing I have in the front yard. And we planted flowers inside the circular barrier. When he came over recently, I went out and I said, hey, we've put up some signs around the yard. My friend literally, no mow on a paint stick and stuck it in the ground.
Mow.
Like, don't mow the bush anymore. Stop it. So there's like one tiny thing that's kind of like barely hanging on out there. I say we've put up signs. And I kind of gesture to the yard. And we put up some signs, just some places where there's
Please stop.
Plants that are growing that we're trying to keep alive. And he's like, okay, no problem. I went back out the next day. Now inside that barrier were violets that were kind of starting to grow and like little beautiful flowers. I don't know what they're called because my friend who plants them, she's like a plant person. I'm not. But there was a bunch of clover. Like they're really like a natural growing clover and not something you plant. It's just something that just pops up in the yard. So most of it looked like clover. So maybe I can excuse. He mowed inside the circle and just took everything out. All the clover is gone. No more violets, even though there's a fucking barrier there. But because it was a half circle, I think he went in from the other side. Like, I guess I can get at him from this way, and just like took him out.
I mean, you're getting value for money. He's definitely mowing some shit.
We did bury the frozen fish in that little section. And so, yes, there's a chance that he's going to find like the remnants of. Anyway, I'm having awkward conversations with someone I've hired. Yeah. I can't imagine if my neighbor, without permission, just kind of came over and made decisions for my yard without talking to me.
Wild.
Them being elderly, you kind of want to be like, oh, you only have so much time left. Like, go on, you.
No,
go on, you.
Like, you only have so much time left. Please stop wasting it by mowing my lawn. Do something you want to do. I mean, unless this is the thing they want to do.
Yeah, it's
wow.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm sorry. It was just okay. Uh-huh.
Wow.
He does. Yes, the ossification has begun, and I think it's moved into like the arthritis, probably. Whatever comes after that.
Flyboy said, Ian, did you get my email about Susan Oliver pilot? Let's have a look.
Ian just taking us out of the plant life. We are going to start the show soon, by the way.
Enough. Let's check. I haven't checked my spam in a little while, so it might be in there. Yeah, it's terrible. I've been doing really well lately. There it is.
Oh, interesting. In Ireland, wilding is a thing now, particularly early in the summer, leaving some of your garden wild for the bees. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's fun.
That's kind of happening. We're planting bee-friendly things in the backyard. Bring on the bees.
That's really cool. Do it. Flyboy, I now have the email. I will read it after the show.
There was a bee on the back porch, which means we're doing our job well because we've planted we have some things that are attracting bees. Iris is like, kill it! Get it away! Like,
kill the bee. No, you'll learn.
That's what we're trying to do, babe.
Bees are good. I don't think I'm the worst. I think there are people that are worse than me. I would think. Like
You should send
Amazon
them to
customer
me.
Services.
Send them to
pretty
me.
shit.
Danae
No,
at
Danae is the worst.
cinemasins.com.
Danae's a couple of notches beneath.
I think that there are some people in this chat that would disagree because I respond pretty quickly.
You responded to David pretty quickly.
Who else has emailed me?
There was a dog.
There was a dog.
There was a dog included. Amazing. Well, should we get into the show? Shall we do it?
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Did you do your disclaimer
Yeah,
thing?
I kind of already covered it at the beginning, so let me just make sure that we got
Oh, yeah.
a little update to our. Oops, I forgot to update the banner, so I'll do that real quick.
Not intentionally, Flyboy, but I've now removed you from spam. Sorry. Emails do weird things.
Bing, bada bing, 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 bing. Let's go.
Woo!
Let's do
Okay.
it.
Hoo-ha. Oh, why do I have that up? There we go. Ding, 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 bum, bum.
Josh.
Welcome.
Sorry.
Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab something from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched together. Most important question first, what would you like from the programmable matter dispenser?
What's something that can de-age one particular part of my body? What's Earl Grey?
Depends on which part of your body you're de-aging.
Digits specifically.
Digits. Just your fingers?
Yeah. You know what? While my hand is fucked up, I'm just gonna grab a hot tea. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna use the hand's already messed up. So yeah.
I want to have a Linus because he was stuck in the replicator, and I want to have whatever he ordered that was so good that he got stuck in there to grab it.
You know what's
throwaway line?
It was a throwaway line, but I don't. In my mind, I wasn't thinking replicator. I was thinking about the beaming pad or whatever.
Oh, the transporter?
Yeah. In my head, that's what I heard. But it's not. It was the replicator.
Yeah, he got stuck in the replicator.
How do you get stuck in a replicator?
Right? It must be really tasty that you just I imagine he got his head stuck in there. It's like, nom, nom, nom.
Oh my God.
You probably wouldn't know this, but Linus is the tall alien with the big black eyes.
He's the frog. Yeah. The froggy guy.
Frog-looking guy. Yeah, Burnham meets...
The amphibian.
I love that moment so much when he was just like, red suits you. And she's so sincere. Just like, thank you, Linus. Linus is incredible. He's a great character.
I feel like Linus is the character that kind of gets shit on a little bit because maybe like the Neelix of the Discovery. And I'm picking that up from the live chat. So I might be completely off base here. But every once in a while, there's like a little influx of Linus shenanigans.
People kind of hate Neelix and they love Linus pretty universally.
Okay.
Linus is just he tends to be the butt of the joke, but he also kind of comes in clutch sometimes. Like he sometimes has the solution, but we never really see him. He'll say like a couple of lines and then be mentioned off screen, just like, oh yeah, Linus came up with this idea. He's just like in the background.
But doesn't Neelix solve problems too, or does he create them? Am I wrong?
He creates the problems and then pontificates about them and then poisons people with cheese. Let's have a synopsis, Ambassador.
In today's episode, we return to last season of Captain's Pod with a timey-wimey shenanigans theme. That's right. We accidentally could have watched this in the past somehow if you can travel into the future.
Would have been Oh, is that your synopsis? Are you done?
That's the synopsis.
This week, it's a time travel episode. They get stuck in a cause and effect, relativity shattered situation where this episode has happened in Voyager, where they revisit previous episodes of the show. Because of time shenanigans.
Let me take an actual stab at it. The episode today is Lock, Shock, and Barrel have sent a time bug into the Discovery ship, which heads to engineering, attaches to something, and it's meant to essentially trap them in a time loop for a series of days or months or however long it lasts in order to get an edge on them and get to the progenitor weapon before they do.
Just the
And
most
so,
convoluted way to do it. I
So,
cannot think of a more
yeah.
complicated way to trap someone.
so in this episode, you have the captain and the first officer not repeating, but getting kind of like moved through time and attempting to figure out how to get out of it, because one of their moves through time sends them into the future where they realize that everything is super fucked. And if they don't get out of it, then everything goes to shit. And so, will they, with the power of friendship, save the day? By God, they will. Oh, and we get to take a nice little Rolodex run through the history of Discovery at key moments. So for anyone who's been watching Discovery, we're going to revisit things in the past. And for anyone who's new to Discovery, we're watching things that we don't really care about. But that's okay, because it kind of gives us a little bit of like a...
Tiny little sprinklings of context.
Yeah. It's sort of like when you walk into a building and they have pictures of all of the things that it looked like before you got there. And you kind of go, oh, that's neat. You know, this is different, or wow, that's cool.
And there's always that one person that's been with the company for like 30 years and is in the very first picture.
Yes. And then there's the one who's not in any of the other pictures and you wonder what happened to them and it turns out they died.
Yes, that's oh shit, yeah, that happened too. So many questions. Overall, thoughts and feelings, Ambassador. Did you like the episode? How was it for you?
Well, I know that we sometimes do predictions in the beginning, the middle, or the end, but this one,
bothered for this one.
This one definitely, I predicted it. Like, this is an episode that is designed to sort of solidify the crew in a really unique way. I loved this episode. I had a really good time.
Me too.
I don't know that I was trying to, but it happened.
It come as a surprise to nobody that I loved the shit out of this episode.
Did you?
Might be my favorite Discovery episode ever because it's really unfair because my other favorite Discovery episode is another time loop episode that they do. And this one and that one are basically, I would argue, the only episodes of Discovery that work as bottle episodes. And they kind of they don't progress the arc of the season very much. They just do their own thing inside of an episode. Yes, this has relational stuff between Burnham and Rayner and the crew that progress forward. But this is very much, we're at the same place that we began, quite literally, at the beginning of the episode compared to the end of the episode. Like, we haven't really progressed anywhere. But I had so much fun because it does time travel shenanigans. It puts them into some really interesting positions. They have some fun tech stuff that they have to do. There's fun shenanigans going on around the ship. I just really, really had a good time. It's paced really, really well. Yes, the science is nonsense, but I had so much fun with it because it was really episodic. And I didn't feel any kind of like dragging thing. They have their own internal mystery to do within this episode that's completely separate to the overarching mystery. Yeah, I had a blast.
I did expect that we were going to be getting into like Booker's relationship to Maul, but that didn't happen this episode. In fact, this episode really didn't spend much time on Maul and Locke at all, except for, I guess, the very beginning. So I can't say at all, because at the very beginning we see them doing like murdering someone. So I'm kind of intrigued in a way, because when like they straight up murder someone. So I think that they're really wanting to establish a couple of things. One, they're bad guys. They're really bad guys. And two, that they are in love, which has been assumed, but we actually see that on screen.
Oh, I think we've seen them kiss in episode 1. Yeah, they kissed for sure.
Oh, I don't think I remember that. But either way, so we kind of have those things. Are they going to go for the redeemable arc here? Maybe with Booker's relationship, but Booker was only in this in a flashback. I liked this as a completely out of context, because I sort of got to see what the writers felt were the important moments for the Discovery.
Well, that was my number one question, was this isn't just like time travel, time loop stuff. This is one of those episodes that often happens in Star Trek where it's almost a victory lap of some key plot moments. How did that affect your enjoyment of it, having not seen anything that they're referring to?
Yeah. And that's the other thing. And what they didn't do, I also thought that they were going to be getting another clue to the mystery, and that didn't happen at all. Like we didn't make progress as far as what the seasonal arc is telling us.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did do is establish the relationships with the crew, and then maybe this was the hits for the person who loves Discovery. And yeah, was there a place for me in it? I mean, I think so. I enjoyed it because what we were seeing wasn't so removed from anything that my brain could like make the connections to. It wasn't so complicated that I had to stop and say, I am so lost, because it was clear what was happening. We are traveling through points in time, and we're doing that because these two people happen to beam at the wrong/right moment. And so they're also outside of time. You've got the captain and the first officer that can sort of figure out the clues to this puzzle. And even though I have no relationship with Paul, I clearly understand now that at some point in time he was fungified, and that gave him an ability to exist slightly outside of time and be able to sort of be another person or participant that's outside of this loop. They're not stuck there. And I like that they didn't have to spend a lot of time doing it. The episode spends most of its time like moving forward as a person while reflecting on the past. And it was a really interesting way to do it, even with the juxtaposition of Michael versus Michael. I have no relationship with old Michael. I've never seen this character before. But there was so much in that moment that I understood. Like, she was a fighter. She had a lot more to lose. She wasn't like kind of by the books as much as she was a feral cat. And then it was like this feral Michael versus this highly skilled and has a lot to lose because her crew is her life now person. And it was really interesting to see the fight versus the fight. I wasn't distracted by it at all. I was interested to go. In fact, at the very beginning, I thought, okay, can she Vulcan grip? Like, was she taught that? Is that just saved for Vulcans?
Picard knows how to do it. Picard's pulled it, so we know that he can.
I forgot that
Non-Vulcans can use the Vulcan death grip. Yeah.
Tell me more.
Nerve pinch. Stop it. No, it's the plexus. The what do you call it? The chop. The thing we've talked about this on the show before. There is a one.
Is that all it is? Is it just accessing that? Okay. All right.
Focused nerve cluster that. Also, it's made up. It's not real. But yes, in Star Trek, it's a nerve cluster thing that you can learn to do. Yeah.
But it was really cool. And it was also interesting that we just touch a little bit on the Booker thing, too. This moment where Mike, like our captain, has to play into past relationships, and we didn't have to be in it very long. And I got to see this Booker character as this supportive love interest rather than this convoluted, been through a lot of shit person that I've just recently been introduced to. And I also thought they did a great job with Paul, because when Michael and Raynor eventually get to Paul's like, yep, I really haven't had a chance to solve the problem because I've been trying not to break any timey-wiminess. Like, he's sort of stuck in engineering, and it was just a fun little statement that gave me all the context I needed for what his life has been like.
It's so interesting because Burnham and Raynor are in addition to, they are moving through time, but Stamets is taking the place of himself, and it's merging those two time travel concepts of, do I inhabit my own body when I time travel, or am I in addition to? So I don't think I've seen an episode of anything take those two concepts and do them at the same time. And he's kind of like, because he doesn't know what's going on, he's like, I need to carry on doing the things that I was doing to the best of my ability, just in case this fucks up the timeline. And when they figure out the bug isn't really affecting the timeline, he has a bit more freedom. But I love that so much. And it was a nice little callback to Stamets' origins as well, with tardigrade DNA. Just that Janae. Discovery.
Yes, I'm in the show.
Woo! Discovery is very respectful of its own canon. I think it doesn't like to forget things. It likes to be like, yeah, we might be kind of parallel to Star Trek a little bit with some of the things we're doing, but internally we try to stay very consistent. And it's perfect to have Stamets in this episode because he was the key of the last time loop episode as well.
Oh, interesting.
Where his tardigrade DNA let him be the only one that was aware that Discovery was in a self-repeating time loop, and he had to Groundhog Day his way to a solution. So it would have been very odd had he not been part of the solution here as well. So I really enjoyed
Yeah.
that.
But that's the kind of perspective that you're gonna, have having watched Discovery that I'm gonna be lacking, where I was really enjoying that the first officer kind of got where he needs to be a part of the crew in this really interesting way, and
Yeah.
the writers are going to write it how they want to write it. And it felt maybe a little bit forced, but at the same time, the stakes were really high and he knew it. And maybe he's faking it. Maybe he's faking a sense of camaraderie to accomplish his goals. And that's
And maybe
okay.
he'll snap
That's fine.
and revert
Because
back to his
yeah.
norm.
Oh, I'm fully expecting it. Can I give you a prediction early?
Go for it.
There's a moment whenever he he's like, hey, we need to take our bio reading out of this computer system. And she's like, oh yeah, we can do that. And she punches in a code and does it right in front of him. And he goes, thanks. I think he's paying attention to that code.
Oh,
I think he's going to go for
I will
mutiny.
sing the shit out of that. I will sing the heck out of it.
I'm just saying,
I think
seemed a little spook to me.
There is a great line where he's like, Burnham's like, well, we need to do it my way. This is my ship. And he's like, even if my way is better. Like, I do feel like there is a point coming where Captain Rayner is still obviously inside of him. And he's like, my way is better. And he's going to be so arrogant that he'll overrule Burnham and pull some shit like that.
And now he
take
has some
command of
codes to
Discovery.
do it.
Yeah. Although the
Absolutely.
code should not be that easy to. It shouldn't just be code. It should
Yeah,
be biometric.
I understand
anyway.
that, but I think that there's something coming down the line with this character, because it was a little bit, and I'm curious what's going to happen, but there's a little bit happening in the writing here where he shifts, and I think he's shifting in a strategic fashion. And whether or not it's for nefarious reasons or not, I think he is going to be affected by this more relational approach. And I thought that the end of the episode where Michael kind of like expands on, yes, being in a relationship does compromise you a little bit, but we have learned a way to be very honest with each other so that we can still, move forward. And as someone who's pretty blunt with my team, I appreciate that a lot. Like, I love when I can just be really blunt and say what I'm thinking and not worry at the end that there's going to be some fallout in my personal life and with my working team. It's just a powerful place to be. So if this is sort of what they're saying is like, relationally, we're close. I want to listen. I want to make sure everyone has an ear at the table, and it leads to greatness mixed with Rayner's, yeah, we ain't got time for that shit. And I appreciate that too. There's like a little balance that I think they're going to find here. And this episode gets us there in a really interesting way.
I'm going to use ear at the table rather than seat at the table going forward.
Did I say ear at the table?
Because I want you're all welcome at the table as long as you're listening and not talking.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah.
Very
I like
much
that.
how I would like to lead. You can have an ear at my table, but not a mouth.
Ears, seats, butts, whatever it
Amazing.
is. Yeah. It was really an interesting kind of like take, I think, today.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I was conflicted, and you summed it up pretty much the same way that I feel, and that we have sped at warp 9 through Rayner's adjustment to this crew, and the show is getting him to exactly where he needs to be for us to enjoy him being Burnham's number one, and we like our people to get along and stuff. So there is an element of it that feels like we are rushing him to a place where he can mold into this crew, not be a pain in the ass, and be one of us, which the rushness is frustrating. However, I couldn't help but enjoy it in this episode.
Yeah.
Because it's woven into a really interesting story, a really interesting adventure, and with some impetus behind how he has to adapt. The stakes are so high. He has this glimpse into the future where Zora has told them, you fail, you fucked up. So that moment that comes immediately after that with Stamets and engineering, when he's like, okay, I've got to try something here. Let's put my ego to one side and try and do it his way, because we have 8 minutes to do this. And the final conversation with season 1 Burnham where he has to dig in and do that. It shows that he's really practical, and I love that he's using empathy as a tool. Like you said, even if he doesn't double down on it and he hasn't naturally evolved, he's still Rainer underneath, but now he's using the tools around him to get what he wants. And I really, really like
that too.
That's really clever.
And it makes sense. He is having to adapt to a new crew. And I am hoping that the writers are intentionally doing this because, it feels speedy, but it makes sense that Rainer has now seen a practical application of how Michael's approach to being a captain works for this crew. So he's going to take this skill set and adapt it to get the crew to do what he wants them to do. And, there's this kind of quote unquote payoff. And it was a little like maybe not quite the payoff that I didn't feel it in my being in the end scene when we have Rainer that's talking to old Michael and the, what's his name?
Stamets?
Maybe.
Engineer?
It's the two people. Old Michael comes in with another person to stop them from going to work.
The guy that likes ships.
Yes.
And he's saying, you like the Constitution class because you like the curves and whatnot. Yeah, the tactical officer.
So
tactical officer, I think. This
is coming off of the one statement that he was given in that 45-second interview from the previous episode. And so this is the payoff of him kind of proving I paid attention enough to regurgitate this information, but he's manipulative enough that he can deliver it in a way that makes it seem like he knows more about them. But had this moment been able to play out for 20 minutes, it's going to be pretty obvious that there's no depth to that relationship. He just happens to give a fact in a way that gives them the slightest pause. Where he really ramps into a believable character for me is when he steps to the gun, looks Michael in the eye, and uses, again, the little bit of information he's been given to manipulate the situation to his tactical advantage. That's the interesting part of that character. Are the writers intentionally developing the character like this? I hope so, because it's working for me.
The TNG way of doing this, he reminds me of Jellicoe so much, who had to take command of the Enterprise for a two-parter, and he's very much this hard ass. I'm not going to be friends with anybody. You do it my way. And he changes the shift rotations just to be a dick. And he puts everybody to work because he's like, I don't care. You all should be in uniform. Lick my boots. That's fine. Rainer is beginning to feel a bit more nuanced, where he's not, it's my way or the highway because that's how I lead. It's my way or the highway, and then I'm going to adapt a little bit to manipulate you. I hope he is being really manipulative and not just this
kind of me too.
I found my soul, because my favorite lines early on in this episode is when he mentions the burn. Now, when we mentioned this a couple of episodes, but when Discovery gets to the 32nd century, there are no warp capable ships, and essentially an event happened a few hundred years earlier that detonated all of the antimatter. Not antimatter. It detonated basically all of the stuff that makes warp travel possible. Anything with a warp drive exploded. And so for hundreds of years, they've been living in dilithium. Thank you, chat. I'm going to do another take on that and then pretend I knew it all along.
I mean, I'm barely paying attention as it is, so you're good.
It detonated all of the dilithium in the galaxy, basically. So warp travel was no longer possible. So he has grown up, and they've only got back warp travel since 2 seasons ago. So they've only had it for a couple of years. He's lived his entire life in a world that didn't really have much of a Starfleet. It didn't have a Federation. This guy is traumatized by the difficult life that he's had to lead without warp drive, without the same ships and technology that Burnham and crew have had. So this is the difference between leading in wartime and leading in peacetime. And he's very much a war leader, and that totally makes sense.
It does. And that's why I'm hoping that they're not going, oh, he's grown a heart. It's more like, oh, he is being really tactical, and he's being heartfelt tactical. He's going to play a part. And I hope that they're doing that. And I don't really care. It's working for him.
Yeah.
It works. And I think it works for this episode too. I do think he does respect Michael in a way. I think he's impressed with her.
That's genuine. Yeah.
When she has to go back as a captain of the ship. Now, I'm missing a ton of context here.
Oh, I am dying to fill you in, but I'm waiting until prompted.
Bullet point me because I don't think I need it.
No.
That
No, you
scene
really did.
on the bridge between our captain and the old crew gave me so much information about how people perceived her at this time. And also props to the the costuming. I was never confused about where I was. Every scene was really interesting. Like, you got this, the room that they were kind of popping in and out of is changing in really interesting ways. And then, but that scene where she steps on board on the bridge with these people, like when they're like, Tilly, I'm like, okay, cool, Tilly's there. And I kind of went in this sort of like not realizing how heavy it was, but then the acting and the writing took me there quickly. I was like,
really
oh,
great.
she was kind of hated.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's really interesting.
What
to
did
hear
I
that
miss?
you picked up on all of that. I think they did a great job, but it's interesting to hear you who literally haven't seen it. You are the Rainer in this episode. They've managed to communicate really well what happened. It is kind of wild, the journey that Michael has been on and how this crew has developed and evolved. So super duper quickly, Michael did some shit in the first episode of Discovery. Got tried for mutiny because her actions instigated this war with the Klingons. She got her captain killed, and because she thought she was doing what was right, ends up being a mutineer. I can't remember exactly why. Your computer just tried to explode? Is that your paper shredder?
It turned on by itself.
Yeah, it's a very petty ghost. It's just setting off your paper shredder.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that.
That's just a power surge. It's fine. It happens.
I don't know. No, I had to move it over to a different setting. Physically move a button. If that fucking thing turns on again, I'm shutting this shit down and I'm moving. I'm moving house.
What, Alabama? What do you mean?
To the moon. There's no ghosts on the moon, right? No one's died there yet.
Yeah,
right?
that's how ghosts work.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael ends up back on the ship, but it's very, very tense because she's a mutineer. Nobody thinks she deserves to be there. Saru is like, get off my ship. You should not be here.
Okay.
They do not get on. And eventually, like, she proves herself. They rely on her. Long road getting from there to here. She ends up being captain again. But yeah, she's a mutineer. They do not like her. They don't think she should be in uniform.
So Discovery, the show, and as a whole, is about the ship. It's not about the captain of the ship. Or is it about Michael?
It's really about Michael.
Okay.
This should have been. It's really her journey. Yeah, they just named it after the ship because that's where you spend most of your time.
Okay. So what was she doing when she was on the ship and she wasn't captain? Was she just like an engineer person or?
Science officer, I believe, if I remember rightly. I'm pretty sure she was science officer. And it eventually becomes Saru's first officer. And then they eventually shoehorn her into the captain's seat.
I think it was really interesting to me in that final scene, which might be my favorite one, is that they were offended by the thought that she would be captain. It wasn't just like a, It wasn't like a whatever. It was like, fuck you.
A mutineer, this goes against everything that I'm doing if a mutineer can be captain.
And then, this is something maybe you can kind of speak to, this android that's in the captain's chair in this moment. That didn't. What is it?
Arium.
Arium is obviously a very respected character. And I wonder if this is the show taking a moment to respect this character, nodding back to when they were more an active part of the show. And I think it's important sometimes to kind of go, this is like the end of the series. So what a great moment to bring back, but also that this android's sacrifice wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, and it was one that they would make. And what was interesting is that they chose to show us that none of the characters would have believed that they did this, that they could do this, that they would do this.
Yeah.
But then the character itself says, no, I would do that. And it seemed like Michael might be the only
It was
one that
really
would
cool.
know that truth, which was kind of the key to everyone maybe believing that Michael was from the future and was the captain.
Mhm.
And how did that hit for you? Because for me, it's like, oh, that's interesting. But for you having like known this character and seen this character, was that like a question about this sacrifice in that early season? Was this like
It
answering
was-
a question or?
Not really, because Ariam wasn't like Data or even Geordie or even like Chief O'Brien. She's not in every episode. She would pop up, she would have answers. She was definitely part of the bridge crew, but I didn't feel super connected to her when she died. The episode where she does die, which I think is in season 2, it is really profound because she makes this big sacrifice, and it's kind of like, I've got a catch-22 choice here. This is a really tough decision, but I've got to do it. And it's a decision that no one's going to make for me. I have to sacrifice myself to make sure this is going to work. And Ariam isn't an android. She is actually a human woman, but was in a huge accident that killed her husband. And she's been mostly replaced with cybernetic parts. So you can see like
interesting.
her mouth, eyes, and lips and stuff, they were all human. She is a human under there, but she's like 75% cybernetically replaced. Interestingly, they actually recast Ariam because the original actor in the Ariam suit couldn't do the prosthetics anymore. She was like, "It's too much. I hate this. It's horrible. You're gonna have to leave." They recast her and then killed Ariam off and introduced a new bridge officer that is the new actor that was playing Ariam.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So Ariam is still on the ship, but the actor playing Ariam. Yeah, exactly.
Got you. Okay.
So I met at, the new Ariam. I met at a convention, and I was just like, "What happened there?" And she was like, "Yeah, no, it's a horrible prosthetic. We absolutely hate it. It's just it's the absolute worst. She's so happy to be human."
Well, I mean, it looked fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I was
pathetic.
Just really intrigued by it. There was a lot of interest. Of course, we talk about this every time. One of my favorite parts of Discovery that I'm seeing so far is all of these really fantastic prosthetics. And yes, they're definitely going to be uncomfortable. Do I know that from personal experience? No, just a lot of like looking at conversations online and various things like this, and like looking at the research. I mean, I really got into it after Lord of the Rings because of how many prosthetics were created for that particular endeavor. That's interesting. So we're going to torture this actor by putting them back in the prosthetics that they had. I got you. Okay.
It's kind of wild. I was like, well, if the original actor hated it so much, why didn't you just kill Ariam then do it? It's such a weird quirk that we had 2 Ariams and one of the actors playing Ariam play 2 different characters on the same show in the same crew. It's just bizarre.
Amazing.
But now they left and they're not even on Discovery anymore. So it's
well, it was
anyway,
interesting.
Long story short, it was a really interesting moment. And I think a really clever way to bring Ariam back and give her another moment, and it does actually give that death more impact.
Yeah.
Knowing that her in front of Burnham was like, oh yeah, for sure I would do that. That's exactly what I would do. It's very interesting.
It is interesting. It does feel a little bit quote unquote cheaty, and I'm curious how you feel about this, being someone who loves time episodes and timey-wiminess and all this stuff, because they do go through quite a lot of lifting for the explanation about how time works moment. Oh, we gotta love it. There are
this bug works exactly how it needs to work to not work.
Yeah, and then this shield works, and here's how we're going to fix that problem that we just invented by doing this other thing, which makes us have to do this other thing.
I kind of love it. It's so TNG. It's so TNG. This highly specific bit of sabotage that works just exactly how it needs to work. And the things that this bug we're definitely getting into sins here, but the things that this bug can do that are so impressive and yet can be undermined so specifically as well is just impressive. This is technology that is insane and yet has this very specific loophole that they're able to exploit and take advantage of.
Well, this is my point. Like at this point, so we can kind of talk about how the time works in this entire episode, but specifically in the moment leading up to this bridge scene, which is kind of where we are in the time, in like where we're at in the episode right now. They essentially describe that they have to do this warp, pop out of the warp, make a bubble. Time does some shit, which lets you put your hand into the dangerous place and capture the bug. But also, it means, and instantly we know this, that this timeline won't exist anymore. So they kind of throw all of these rules that we usually have in place for episodes like this or movies like this, where you can't see yourself, you can't talk about what you're doing, and because it's going to just disappear. And so essentially the crew is not only accepting that Michael is who she says she is from the future, that they have to go to warp and bop out and possibly ruin themselves, but they're also maybe coming to terms with, in their own mental calculations, that they're going to not exist very shortly. They don't say that out loud on the bridge, but they're the
this
way
version of them.
Yeah, like there's a moment when the Tig Notaro character is like, "Are you in a time loop?" Which
it was so great.
It was so
I loved
great.
it so much.
Which technically he wasn't in a time loop, so he got to say no. But my point is that these characters are used to these possibilities, so you know that they're doing these mental calculations. So you've got like old school Tilly and these great characters who are questioning Michael, and then suddenly partial android lady is like, "We're doing this time warp thing." You know they're back there going, "Wait a second. We're breaking all of our rules. Does that mean that I'm not going to exist anymore?" And where does their agency come into play? So this is happening after the timey-wimey explanation. And I'm just wondering, like, did all of this work for you? For me, I just sit back and I'm like, what the fuck ever. Don't even tell me what's in the drink. I'm just going to drink it because it looks delicious.
It was, if this all hinges on how much fun I had and how much I enjoyed the episode. The amount of bullshit time travel you throw at me is directly proportional. My enjoyment of it is directly proportional to, my acceptance of all of your time travel bullshit is directly proportional to how much fun I had. If I didn't have fun, I'm going to tear it apart.
Okay.
If I had fun, I'll forgive a lot. They go to a lot of effort of explaining things. So she does say, "I need to wipe my biosignature from the ship," because
I like that.
The fact that the ship detected me here
technically
he
said it.
He said it. Whoever said the show said it, and I was really happy with that.
That's when the code was put in, by the way.
Yeah. I love the effort that went into that. I love that Stamets is there to give the rundown of how this loop is different from the previous loops. This jump in time is different from the previous jumps in time, and if we do this, the effects only set into place once the bug resets the loop. It has its rules. They're nonsense, but they do stay consistent within their own rules, which is something I appreciate. So
it did.
I had a lot of fun with it, and it's okay.
I did too, and I believe it. It's like, we have to do it within this time, and then it makes sense. We can't, So they really tried to. I was thinking a couple of times, because when the timey-wimey explanation jargon starts, and when the engineering jargon starts, I kind of experience a little bit of a leaving my body moment, and not like in a, I'm having so much fun, I'm leaving my body. It's more like I'm just gonna kind of pay attention right now.
I love it.
But I usually will make this note in moments like this, where I recognize that Star Trek has rules. The writers are held to a high standard, so they're trying to make sure that it makes sense within their canon, and they're doing their best to press the limits of storytelling and doing time travel, while also attempting to make some sort of sense for the plebeians such as myself, the nerds such as yourself, and everyone in between. And I
satisfy a lot of different people.
I thought that they did a good job where it wasn't too much. Like, I tuned out for most of it.
Yeah.
But Chad is saying, and I know we don't often like pull up stuff from chat, but Chat was saying that the description of what would happen if the timelines converge had to be a Back to the Future 2 reference Do you agree with that? 'Cause I know you love that movie. So is that one of the
Yeah.
reasons you're liking this so
It
much?
feels like a little bit of a stretch. I mean, Doc Brown at some point says that if they meet themselves, it could like blow up the universe, and there is like a branch. It does follow. Back to the Future follows the branching timeline, where if you make a change and then go to the future, you're in a new future. You don't get to return to your own future, and I think that's what's being referred to. But I don't know if it was a super reference, but it was following similar logic for sure.
Okay. Because I know you really love that. So
Oh, I love Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future so much. So much. It is just really interesting that that they have one set of rules and then all of the rules get thrown out for the last section where they're allowed to make all of the changes that they want because none of it is going to matter. Man, only if this works though. Like if this doesn't work, you're in trouble.
Well, that's what I'm saying too. Like we've seen an episode now of Voyager where there's this time police. So obviously somehow this is okay. They're not breaking the rules too much.
The time police exist before this episode. I think they come from the 2600s or the 2500s.
So why wouldn't they be invested in being like, you guys can't do this? Like
there's no time police anymore, I think.
Oh, really?
Because we're in the 3200s. The time police were like 2600s, I think. Maybe 27.
You would think that that's an important division to keep alive.
I mean, not when all of your dilithium has blown up and stopped. Maybe it was just too much. Maybe Kirk and Janeway just killed them all.
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. I kind of just assumed that it was introduced in that time, and then it's just part of they're just sort of always watching kind of a vibe.
Yeah. No, I think there's. Oh, I'm not even going to try to explain that because they haven't. they haven't given us a full set of rules for this.
So is time travel banned?
As much as you can ban time travel, like the Klingons aren't going to agree with that.
Because that was mentioned also, and that's interesting to me because that means that this weapon that Maul and Locke have is really not. I mean, can we talk about this weapon? What did you think about the whole like time travel bug thing? How do you feel about that as a way to kick this off? Because it seemed pretty unique to me.
Damn it! The writers know exactly how to get a loophole out of me because I was like, this bug is some nonsense. And then they go and mention the Krenim. They had to mention the fucking Krenim, didn't they? And just give me a little nerd boner that I was like, oh, I know who the Krenim are. Oh, the Krenim
I don't.
Really I'm kicking myself so much because there's a great two-parter time travel-y episode in Voyager called The Year of Hell. And if we if we weren't doing Discovery, we would have squeezed in The Year of Hell at some point, and we will in the future. But the big bad are the Krenim.
Or is it the past?
Stop it. The big bad for that are the Krenim. And basically this one absolutely just traumatized and insane alien is like, I'm going to change all of time until my family are back with me because his family were killed as a result of a war. And so he's mastered this time ship thing that can alter technology, but alter the timeline. But when you change one thing, it snowballs and changes a lot of other things. So he has to fine tune this situation until his family are back. But long story short, that means the Krenims are expert on time weapons and time travel and things like that. So this is a Krenim time bug technology thing. So I was like, yep, makes sense. Fuck! You had to pull out the Krenim, didn't you?
Well,
damn it.
There's this clever moment. I think it happens a couple of times early in the episode, which I kind of enjoyed, of Michael and Rayner trying to figure out what kind of fucking shenanigans they were in. And they're just like running through the list of shit, you know? And then Rayner is the one who lands on Time Bug. And so now we see, you know, what it is. We see what was planted on to the character from last episode that was on Trill. I can't remember their name.
Adira.
Okay. So questions have been answered. Now it's a time bug. So you really like that. I thought it was kind of unique, honestly.
I hate it. I hate that it's a spider. I hate how it works. I hate that the ship can't discover it, but a fucking human eyeball. It's just like, oh, look, there's a spider crawling around engineering. Like, what a dumb piece of espionage that gets spotted by a shitty human eyeball. It circumvents everything other than a biological squishy bag of water. with shit vision. And it doesn't need to be a spider either, just to make it creepy crawly to get around the shit. I don't like it, but then they went and called it Krenim, and I'm just like, okay, you got me.
Yeah, I guess that's part of it, is that I'm learning, and thank you for kind of telling me about it, is that it's created by somebody
in-universe
who
species.
has been working on things like this for a long time. It's highly specific, though, and definitely sinful in that it knows exactly where to go. It's not detected by, like you said, security systems or any of this stuff.
Insane shield that extends the episode by 20 minutes.
It does. That shield, man, that bought us 20 minutes of runtime, didn't it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it really did.
But it looked cool.
Oh, it looks cool. I'm baffled by how advanced this technology is and the applications. When you invent something like this as a catalyst for an episode, you get me thinking so much about what are the other applications? Why aren't they used more? Will we ever see this thing? This thing is crippling. You beam 100 of these onto different ships, and that's exactly what the Krenim did. They used it to cripple other ships, which is what the episode tells us. I don't know how you get around this bit of technology. Forget the progenitor tech. We need to stop this spider bug thing.
It seems, though, that the progenitor tech has a lot more implications of its power, whereas this one's limited. You know, it gets going and then it eventually wears itself out, and it can't keep itself sustained. I
know, but it's still so dangerous. It can.
I mean, yeah.
All the time, like if
not all of the time. It kind of pockets one ship.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
It pocketed Discovery, so it was targeted on Discovery. So somebody would have to target every single ship.
You can't just isolate Discovery. It's all of the effects that Discovery has on other things as well. Like, if they go there and blow up, and it must just be a branching timeline thing. I'm not even gonna. My brain just broke a bit at how this spider fucking works.
The spider, it does work. It works and then it stops working. They figure out how to put their hand in there and
do the thing.
You know, there's so much convenience. Like, this is the thing about an episode like this. There's so much that you just go along with because you are having a good time. I'm sure upon second or third watch, you're going to feel a different tug on the time that you're investing in it. But at least I want
to watch it a second and third time, which is really, really fun. I would watch this again.
This one, it has humor. We have action. We have a mystery to solve that's not what you expect. And I think this is the right time when you're releasing episodes. I think this is the right time to change up the format because we're expecting another clue to be discovered in this one. Mm-hmm. So to surprise your audience and not do that kind of feels nice, not gonna lie, because it's like, oh, okay, we're not doing what's expected.
It's got to be fun. You can't make it some bullshit, or else you just feel like you're spinning your wheels. And I think it really does that. It really makes it fun.
And but the humor did work for me, and I felt like there was definitely one big scene where the humor hit, which is Tig. You know,
Tig, that was my next question. Yeah. Tig comes back. How did you enjoy the Tig stuff? And do you think that there's going to be something between Tig and Raina? There was a glance that he gave Tig.
No,
I think he really respected her.
No, I think that there's for me, and I'm interpreting things based on so little background, but for me, what that was about is kind of like a glance back in time, like I remember what life was like then. And so you got these three characters. You have Rainer, who hasn't been through any of this and is learning just how much the Discovery has been through before he got there. He's not reading a debrief on the bullet points. He's experiencing it. And that's another reason why I feel like the progression of this character is so powerful moving forward, because we can kind of like really understand where he absorbed it from.
Yeah.
But we have Michael reflecting on all of her history, which could be a really interesting dive into this character work. And then you have this other character, Paul, who we really don't get to see too much, but there is still a lot kind of happening there. We have him reflecting on all of that he's been through before he was altered, after he's altered, the future where he's scared of what's going to happen and the pressure that he's feeling. And I love in that moment too how Rainer kind of shifted to, let's just show him what the old dogs can do. He is a really good, he is good. He's got some good instincts at the very least of how to kind of be a commander.
Charismatic as heck as well. He just
really,
doesn't use it.
Yeah.
in the way we expect.
But for that Tig moment, like for me, I'm interpreting that as Paul being more exposed to all of these different moments in time. It's like someone flips open your diary and takes out the big hit moments, and then you're back there going, holy shit, remember when I was this person? Remember when I would have responded this way? Like, and even as a content creator myself, the like old podcast episodes that I've been on where I would have responded very differently today than I did before. And you put yourself and you're like, oh, but this is why I would have was responding differently. Like
I'm
I was a
very
different
grumpy.
person.
Everyone get out of this room. Yeah, I was grumpy before the tardigrade DNA. And he was. Like, we didn't really like Stamets in the first few episodes. He was arrogant and he was really, really mean.
I
but
love
not
that.
in a mean way that we kind of respected.
What a fun and perfect way to make a wink and a nod that you have character growth, whether it's because the writers needed to be more likable for your audience or was whatever the purpose is. Like he shifted. And I love how Rainer said, well, that got them out even faster because it's more Rainer's style of just being direct. But then Paul's response was, well, that's just who I was at that time. But to have to kind of keep the mental gymnastics about where you are in your own time period and stuff, I didn't really think that there was a love interest there. And there's a couple of reasons for it. One, if I was going to give him a love interest, I thought it was the doctor.
Well, he's already married. I don't know if it would be reciprocal.
They're married,
Wait, who
though,
are you
right?
talking about?
The one that had the consciousness last episode. Aren't they married?
Dr. Culver. Yeah, Dr. Culver and Dr. Stamets are married. I thought you meant Rainer was interested in the engineer.
Sorry, I might have said. Yeah, Paul. So I thought they were.
They're married. Him and Dr. Culver are married.
Who did you think that I'm supposed to? I thought you were asking me to put Tig with the.
No, Jesus, no, Rainer. Rainer and Tig.
Sorry,
Rainer
I missed
had
that.
like a little. No, okay, that makes so much more sense. Rainer definitely had like a little like as Tig walked away and said they need better helmets. There was this like wry smile there. I don't know. I felt a little bit of like. I don't know if it was just professional respect or something a little bit more.
I think it's professional respect.
And
I apologize. I totally missed that.
Nonsense. Yeah.
I totally missed that. No, I think that because when Tig came in, she's like, there was chips last time. There is a certain level of like, I'm going to do my thing, you're going to do your thing that I think he respects about her. I don't think that it's romantic. And let me tell you why. If it was romantic, they would have had romantic music playing in the background.
No, that's fair. Yeah, you always pick up on the music and I don't. Either way, that moment with Tig was super fun. She was the perfect person to come around the corner and shoot somebody. I was so happy when she turned up and saved the day because it's just kind of the perfect person that's not going to ask too many questions and just get on with the emergency.
It was so casual.
It's so casual. I love it.
Now, I do have a question about the people that were in the outfits. Like before we were talking about predictions and them being a specific kind of species. Was that species attacking the Discovery?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
We haven't seen the Breen in Discovery.
So that just happened to be suit people right after we talked about suit people.
Orions, okay. I think they were working. The Orions were doing something sketchy and trying to take the ship. So yeah,
I see.
They were just aliens in regular.
I wasn't sure
and whatnot. Yes,
I wasn't sure, and so I thought maybe.
Good to ask. Good to ask.
Yeah. Is now a good time to take a quick break as the cat is meowing loudly at my door?
Sounds like it is.
Is that okay? All right. Will you remember where you're at?
Yep, I will.
Okay.
Bye. Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep double thinking and overthinking it. It's Culber, I know, but I keep thinking because I think it's Culber, it's actually Culver, but it is Culber. I will try and remember that. Thank you, everybody. I did like that we got a Vesper. I do enjoy a Vesper as well. Oh, time to Lord of the Rings. Do I have it to hand? I do. Hang on. Actually, no. I've got so many questions, so many things in the chat. Thank you, Sarah, for agreeing with me. I thought they were a little bit flirty. I thought something was going on there. Miss Grumpy Stamets. I hate that they softened him. No, I think, but he was the wrong level of grumpy. He was like grumpy mean in like the early episodes of season 1, because I think he got offended by like some stupid stuff. I was like, just grow up. You're a scientist. Come on, be grown up about it. What else have we got? Flyboy says, my favorite episode of the season so far. Bern and Raina stamps are a ton of fun together. I had a blast watching this. I'm glad, Flyboy, because I know Discovery isn't really your thing so much. So yeah, I'm glad you had a good time with it.
Sorry, I just
No,
didn't
you're
want him
good.
to. He's been here since 6:30 a.m.
It's a long time.
I left the house to take Iris to school. He stayed. I came back. He gave me like a little, hey, what's up? And then went down into the basement to take his nap.
Yeah, and that's where he's been all day. Amazing.
6 hours of sleeping, this cat.
Now, similar, it's kind of like in this moment, it was a few moments after the Reno appearance. I love Tig.
Oh,
Her name is Jet Reno.
Okay.
Burnham is in the turbo lift. The doors open and Linus walks in, and I'm just like, oh, thank goodness. If it's going to be anyone, it's Linus. And they just have a great moment, similar to like Tig, no nonsense. Just Linus just moves along and does his thing. And I was just like, okay, she's in the clear. And then fucking Burnham walks around the corner, season 1 Burnham. And I was like, yes, this is amazing. I loved it so much because it's just, I love it when shit goes sideways. It was so fun. And she just like, no, come back here. Pulls her into the turbo lift and they just go to town. And what I really, really like, this can get really sketchy when you have the same actor playing with themselves in the same scene and you have them side by side.
Yeah.
I thought this fight, the interaction, the CGI stuff that they had happening was so good.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel it was jarring. I didn't notice the stunt double. Maybe you will on another watch through. The only time I could kind of see it being a bit weird was when after she does the neck pinch and she's holding old Burnham's head. There was a bit of weirdness there, but otherwise I thought that scene went so well. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, that's the only time that I recognized that there was something a little squiffy going on was when past Burnham had passed out.
Yeah.
And our Burnham was kind of holding up their head. But I thought that it was really, really interesting to see the fight because for me, I am learning that past Michael is a fighter. And just
fiery,
but also even then very protective of what she had on Discovery, even if it was that she was maybe me versus the crew a little bit because she had to kind of prove herself and she had done this, terrible thing to like be a mutineer. She's not fighting future Michael because of ego. It didn't seem. It seemed like it was like
just time.
You're a shapeshifter and you're going down. And it was this confidence that she knew the right thing to do right then and was just jumping into a fray. And it was so fun. Like the same on same vibe. Yeah, it was really well done.
It was so good.
And when they put their arms,
they were matching their moves, like that choreography was because in my brain I was like, this is going so fast. How am I noticing this? Am I incredible? Am I just really observant? And it's like, no, the show's just doing a really great job at mirroring their moves and matching their technique. And old Burnham looks confused for a couple of seconds, just like, why is this going this way? Like, is she me? Like the Vulcan fighting they were doing was so well done. So great.
And I wouldn't have really known that was quote unquote Vulcan fighting until like right now. So obviously she's been trained and then we get to see the Vulcan neck pinch, but I didn't really think about that it's a specific style and I didn't really need to. It's her style and of course she's going to it. Now it has so much martial arts technique to it. Like the way that she's standing is how I was taught to stand when I studied martial arts and I went into my dojo 6 days a week. And I loved it. There was just this. It's almost also like yourself and you're going to go hard because yourself. So future Michael is going, well, this is happening.
Yeah. And I know how she's going to do this.
It was really intense and I loved it. And I wanted to see the pinch happen and it did happen, but I still loved the fight and it happened just long enough. It wasn't too long.
Yeah, I think so. And this is a more experienced Burnham as well. She's got a few years on young Burnham, so she's picked up a few more tricks. Actually, she's got more years than anyone else because she was in the future 5 years longer like when they all went to the future, Burnham arrived 5 years earlier than anybody else did. So she was like, I think it was 5 years. She was in there for 5 years, and then everyone turns up, and she's like, "Oh, hey, you made it! You got here." So she's got a
Yeah.
bit of time on old Burnham for sure.
Yeah, I like that. But that was fun because I heard you say, "Oh," when she
Oh,
enters the
shit.
lift before it showed up
Yes.
on my screen because you were like
Oh,
just
of
slightly
course.
ahead. So,
Yeah.
which is exciting because I was like, "Ooh, what got Ian excited?" Yeah,
Because, and what's really clever about Discovery at this point, because if we bump into Riker during a similar time travel episode, it can be season. Okay, if he doesn't have a beard, I know we're in season 1. But from season 2 to 7, I'm kind of like, oh, this could be Riker at any point. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But with Burnham, I know at what point in her history we're
Yeah.
at. So I know what Burnham we're dealing with. I know what's going on with her at this point, mainly because her hair changes every season. So I can kind of pinpoint what season we're in. So it was really interesting to see Burnham with the distinct hair she has walk around the corner in that uniform. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not who you need to be bumping into right now.
I have to say,
So good.
I didn't know what was about to happen. I didn't know the intensity. I think if I were to have watched all of this and know the Michael character better, maybe like on your level or even a super fan, how it had that feeling of sometimes when you watch a movie, this used to happen a lot with like MCU when they first started releasing a lot of their movies, and then they would do that little thing at the very end of the movie to wink at the next movie.
Yeah.
And everyone in the audience who knew who that was knew how big of a big deal it was.
Yes.
The first one of the times it happened, at least in the theater that I was in, was when we saw Thanos for the first time in that moment. And I remember people be like, "Oh!" because
let's go.
we're seeing a big
know
bad.
Who that is. Yeah.
I had no idea who Thanos was, but I was like, "Oh shit!" It kind of felt like that when you reacted, like you knew what was about to go down,
Yes.
and that's a fun feeling.
And and it was just so fun. That's why I love this episode so much. Like it really pays off that kind of stuff. It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
On a side note, the only time in the MCU that's really happened to me was at the end of the Incredible Hulk, because at that point I didn't. That was the second MCU movie to come out. Iron Man was the first, then the Incredible Hulk.
Right.
I didn't know that there was going to be a shared universe. So when Incredible Hulk finishes, and Robert Downey Jr. turns up in the bar to say that he's putting a team together, I was like, wait, I just watched Iron Man. Wait, he was Iron Man. Oh, shit, this is amazing. So that was like how I discovered the MCU was going to be a thing, was Iron Man turning up at the end of the Hulk. It's like, oh, so good. And The Incredible Hulk is a great film and is underrated. Anyway.
I just feel like this episode of Discovery took us on a journey through the history of the show itself, while also
without being a clip show.
Without being a clip show, and I think that was really clever. I wondered if we were going to be seeing them change. Like sometimes in the time travel, as we've seen in episodes, they'll change they'll do something that is why something happened in the show. Let me try to say this a different way. Mm-hmm. So I kind of expected that maybe Michael and Raynor were going to move something on the computer, and that's why in episode 6 of season 3 this happened. But it turns out that the funnel just collapsed in on itself and none of it actually mattered. So it sort of didn't.
Well, I think everything in this is what I would need to rewatch the episode. I think what Stamets said is that only when the bug has chance to reset the jump that it locks things into place. So all of the other loops did happen. So in theory, Tig should recognize Raynor now. I mean, maybe she won't because it was the heat of battle and whatnot. But in that last loop, they're able to talk to everybody. Because when they get to the bug and destroy it, nothing locks into place and nothing happens. I think that's what Stamets said.
If that's the case, then I would, if I was going to be really like actually sinning this episode, I would go back to right when that last one started and then make sure that I really understood beforehand. Because does that mean that Tig should remember Raynor now?
That's what I think. Unless they put it down to the ship was being invaded. She doesn't remember the random crew member that she spoke to at that point. So yeah,
And then there's
it would
like
be fun
when
it
it
would be
was
fun if it's just like you.
when it was dry docked and they're seeing
Yeah.
2 officers. Does
Mhm.
that mean that the costuming or that their clothing would have matched that time too, or should that have clued in that person that was in the dry dock in San Francisco or wherever they were? You know,
I
like
mean, it all
those are my.
depends, like, because that dry dock guy may not be Starfleet, so he might just be like
Oh, true.
random
Okay.
builder, and he's like, "Oh, some higher ups. This is just the uniform that they wear. Fine."
Okay. Well, there's
On that
probably
point, though,
yeah.
no, go on.
No.
Well, I'm moving on to a different thing. So if you have another,
Nope.
Okay. On that point, I miss the OG Discovery uniforms so much. I love them. That sleek blue with the gold trim and the little like the neck collar thing. I love that OG Discovery uniform. I love the communicators. I was so happy with the uniform and the tech that was introduced in season 1 of Discovery, and I was so sad when it kind of all left in season 3. Did you like those uniforms? You're a costume person.
I really did, but because of all that was happening, I had so much to absorb. This particular episode is so beautiful in so many ways, and I kind of continue to state that in every episode so far. I love the tech. I love going over and tapping on the screen, and it's just like jittery. When we go to future Discovery and it's all covered in dust. By the way, that's got to be a sin, right? Like, is that dust there because isn't dust like skin cells and shit that's just in the air? And if everyone's dead, does that mean it's just their dead bodies to ash? What does that?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, that's grim. Anyway, the
it
sets,
all depends what their final moments were and what it looked like.
They're just floating. Yeah, exactly. I guess that's the case, is that they're just still in there. Maybe gross.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It never really left.
But the sets are really unique, and there's something to look at in every one that I feel is a clue to the timeline. Now, they do a great job of saying, oh, this is where we are, this is what's happening. And so the super fan is not only maybe seeing old set pieces and kind of recognizing them, but then, the costuming is the other huge indicator. Costuming, hair, these sort of examples of where we are in the time of Discovery. So I do like the costumes, but the problem for me as the new viewer is I don't know which one is supposed to be engineering and which one's an old one, and so they kind of all just merged together in one.
Yeah.
And I actually don't know which uniform you're specifically talking about offhand. I think you said while you're watching, "Oh, it's a beautiful uniform," and I looked and it sort of had lines that went from shoulders all the way down.
That's
so like
the
these,
one.
Okay.
Yes, correct. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one that was used in season 1 and 2. And I loved it because it actually looked like a natural progression from the Enterprise uniform, which takes place before Discovery, into the more like kind of bold colors of the uniforms we know now. I think it's a beautifully designed uniform. There's one last thing before we go on to the sins that I would be remiss in mentioning. You're not going to have any clue about this, Danae, but it's for the benefit of the listeners at home. So after season 1 of Discovery, they did this thing called Short Treks, which was a series of very short mini adventures that were all standalone, individual, just adventures that happened between season 1 and season 2. And one of them was called Calypso. And this takes place on Discovery, way, way in the future, where this random guy finds Discovery, talks to Zora. This is before we even knew Zora was a thing. And all that we know is that and I'm going to fuck this up, but I think it's the 33 or 3400s. It's like way, way, way in the future. So we know that Discovery somehow ends up way in the future and is abandoned and is lost. And I was kind of wondering if this would tie into Calypso, because everyone wants to know, is Calypso what happens? Does Discovery end up way, way, way in the future? And I think Zora mentions that the crew is all dead. We don't know how they died. But we've known since season 1 that Zora ends up alone on Discovery.
That's so
kind of
sad.
Adrift in space, and she's kind of going a bit insane and a bit loopy at this point. So are we going to retcon Calypso And when they jumped into the future and everything's abandoned, I was like, oh, is this in Calypso? Like, are we finally going to have a little bit more explanation as to what happened in this short trek? But I mean, if they're going to undo that future, which is 30 years from now, where everything's gone wrong with the progenitors, are they undoing Calypso as well? Oh, it's just this big unanswered question in Discovery lore that I'd love to have an answer to at some point. And I think we're going to get it with this being the last season. I don't like the idea of just leaving it hanging, of Discovery ends up adrift and Zora ends up alone forever.
Never ever read what happens to Arwen in Lord of the Rings.
Never. Just be happy with the movies.
Because sometimes shit just gets real sad and you end up being alone for a really fucking long time, and you die and you watch all of your friends die, all of your family die, all your husband, your children, and the world fades away and you're still just wandering, heartbroken forever. So maybe Zara is Arwen in this world, and if that's true, it's super tragic. I hate it.
Right. There's a bit of me that just wants it addressed at some point. Like,
well, to go specifically not into Lord of the Rings, sorry about that.
I never apologize for Lord of the Rings.
Is the idea that maybe this episode did like a little wink and nod to potential to that episode, but still, because in this episode they visit the future, but then they go into the past to try to rectify and avoid the future, but technically that might still be like a timeline.
Yeah,
that just exists out there.
I mean, it has to be like that's how branching timelines work.
So then Calypso could reference that it looked in the future and it saw that future and not this future.
Yeah, I think so. I just think it would mention anyway. It's always going to be a question mark. I think we're always going to want to know what exactly Calypso is, because we don't even get a year. We just know it's 1,000 years from sometime, and they've covered 900 of that. So we don't know if this is 1,000 years after that 900 years. So it's really, really, it's very interesting.
Well, no matter what, it definitely has enough similarities that it seems like it would be purposeful. So
it feels like it. It feels like it. Well, anything else, Ambassador, before we go and do some sins? Oh, pips. How many pips out of 4, Ambassador?
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about this yet. I want to give it 4 pips. And I'm trying to figure out why I need to come down a little bit, which is just this part of me that's like, okay, what would have made it even like better?
It's because 4 pips is 100%, and it's hard to say that anything is without improvement.
I think I'm going to give it 4 pips for what I've seen on Discovery so far. This is my favorite one. And I think as a standalone episode, it does some really interesting things where it moved quickly. I never checked the time, which hasn't happened so far. This is the first time I haven't looked at the clock. Yeah. So that's kind of a more important for me. I like that it had action, it had humor, it told me so much about Discovery. And maybe this would be a struggle for some, but like, because I don't know the history and the characters, this was a really delightful experience for me. And I think that they did it in a really unique way where it didn't feel like it was super, super cliche. I love also the bravery of working with time travel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes some guts there, and they got to solve a problem where they like made a machine, and sure, some of it's tropey and expected. Like, of course she had to go to her quarters to see Booker. Of course, but let's give props to what this show is trying to do. It's trying to touch on a lot of stories and bring a lot of emotion back in. And I really gained a different understanding of the show as a whole from this episode that I would be completely lacking without it. And so personally, for me, I think I'm going to go 4 pips because I had a really good time on this one. And it sets up some really interesting mysteries, especially with me like really wondering about Raynor. And that's a delight. I love that they've put a little bug in my brain. Like, this guy's super in something weird's going on.
I don't think he's evil. I just think he's ruthless, and I think his arrogance could lead him to make some sketchy decisions. And I think he's planning. He's a tactician. If there's one thing
I
we've
hope
seen in every episode, he is tactical. So even if he
I don't
doesn't,
know.
even if he doesn't have a specific plan to use Burnham's code, he's got it there in his artillery just in case. He's got it in his toolbox.
This is one of those where if at the end of the season they're not doing this, I would hit this episode for it and be like, fuck you, Discovery,
what
you
did
fucked
you
up.
do?
So I'm really
That was
hoping that they're not, because there's just enough. Just watch the lift scene again, the way he's like, thanks, Captain. When she enters in that code, just watch it. It's
Mhm.
creepy. Something's going on there.
No, I agree, but he also has that delivery with a lot of people where he's
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
I want to believe what you believe.
I want to believe it. What do you think? What's your pippage?
Oh, I'm not going to be mean. It's 4 pips. Like,
Really?
yeah, which is strange because there are episodes that would be 3 pips that are technically better than this, but for what it's trying to do and how it executes it, I love this episode, and I think it does a great job of what it's intending to do. It puts Rayna in the place it wants him to be, and I buy it. It does callbacks without being too fan servicey or feeling lost. Like, it has a high level of difficulty and it pulls it off. So I'm going to give it extra props for that. You've got to dig out the old Discovery uniform. You've got to change the sets a little bit. You've got to do some makeup work by putting everybody into their hairstyles from season 1. Detmer's hair is different. Away Shakun's hair is different. You bring back Ariam and do all of her makeup as well. There's so much that this episode pulls off in 50 minutes. And it's cohesive, and it's got a fun adventure in the middle of it, and it's mostly internally consistent.
They
I
are.
had
They
such a
even
great time of it. And you
Yeah.
suckers, you do time travel, you know you're getting by default an extra pip out of me.
Well, it's really interesting too, and we didn't mention it before, so I'll mention it now too. They did a good job of also explaining that they're spending more time in each one, and like it's getting bigger, and then it's getting
exactly.
So even how they explained, and that's really, really clever story. We don't want to be spending a lot of time in those time travel at the beginning because we're trying to like go, what? Come on. So it kind of goes peep, 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 peep.
Well, it fixes my biggest thing with cause and effect in that some of the loops seem inconsistent with how long they should be, and those loops should be exactly the same time each time, because I'm sure that's what they did. They listened to Captain's Pod and backpedaled and changed this episode.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you for listening to the show, by the way. The writers of Star Trek. We can't wait to get. We can't wait to get a message, an email from you.
From the Discovery writers, because I keep making mistakes.
I will. I'm going to make an email just for them.
Yeah,
it's going to be, I'm an actual writer from Star Trek, and I love you at cinemasynth.com.
That's it. You heard it here. I'm an actual writer from Star Trek, and I love. What? No, I've lost it.
Perfect. I love it.
Amazing. Well, with that, let's head over to engineering and do some synths. Battle stations, black alert. This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sin brains, remind ourselves that no TV show is without sin, even our beloved time-bending Discovery and Star Trek. Ambassador, you go first. Although, with a brief disclaimer, we have talked a lot about
some sins.
My big sins of this episode already with the time travel.
Yeah, I don't really need to spend too much time on it, but I think one of the biggest sins for me on this one was the forced false tension of that final scene where they're on the bridge and we have this, and I apologize, I'm going to call her the android character, even though she's cyborg character.
Cyborg, yeah. I love how you apologized and
I figured it out.
Gave the real name.
I found the word quickly.
Amazing.
And the reason is because, and maybe you can explain this one away. Why didn't the cyborg just tell them to stand down? Like, she was in a position of authority. She should have been like, hey, you two, stand down. They have my permission to do the timey-wimey stuff down there in engineering.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Good point. She could have done.
It just is weird to me that they're on the bridge and there's this massive need and they're looking at futuristic Michael to say, have you got it figured out yet? And Michael should just say,
good point.
I'm down. tell them to stand down, otherwise we're fucked. And then that should have just been a chain of command situation, in my opinion.
I can see that working on Reese. I think that wouldn't. So nothing I'm about to say undermines that sin, because it's absolutely correct. She should have tried, and she didn't even attempt to say stand down.
No, and that was
Burnham
confusing
might have
to
ignored her anyway. That's what I'm about to say, is that Burnham probably would have ignored her and said,
That's what I was
I'm going
wondering.
to follow my gut. These people are shapeshifters. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But it would have worked on Reese for sure. He should have followed orders.
Yeah. And I understand that they wanted attention, but it was like this. It's a way to build up that kind of feeling of like, oh, the stakes are so high. But that was a big sin for me.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Reese should have been like, Burnham, stand down. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, good one. I like that. My first one was opening the episode 15 hours ago. This might be the most baffling 15 hours ago subtitle telling us when we are thing. What am I missing here? Why did that have to be 15 hours ago from when?
I was, well, first of all, I was annoyed by that.
15 hours ago from when?
I feel like it was from the end of the last episode. So it's like we're starting immediately on this one. 15 hours earlier, this is what Locke and Maul were doing. They got the weapon and then they went to Trill and they put it. So it's showing us when they got the weapon so that they can then go to Trill and put it on to them.
No, because because that thing isn't the weapon. Because at the end of that speech, she says that. Oh wait, no, maybe it is.
No, that's the. I thought that they got that weapon.
Because they said that Discovery isn't going to be on Trill for long, so they are going to Trill.
Yes.
Okay, that's so confusing though. They should have put that at the end of last episode. So that first scene happens before last episode.
Yes.
This is the planet that they were on. That
it
they
happened
figured out.
Inside that episode somewhere where they said that they've been scanning them and they haven't found them on Trill or whatever. Like it's just
that's the planet that they're on, right? Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay.
I don't know why the hours make sense exactly, but they got it.
That 100% should have put that at the end of the last episode, and that would have been a nice little tease for what's coming next. So I guess that is the spider bug thing.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
okay, thank
absolutely.
you, Danae. Well cleared up. I like that.
My next sin is you don't have to prove who you are. Just tell them to go scan the little bug in engineering. Like that tells you everything you need to know,
right?
Why not? Why can't they? Why can't they just go down and look at it and be like, oh yeah, here's the fucking bug that you're talking about?
Time to do that?
They can beam down there. Just fucking beam down there.
Yeah, look at the spider. Yeah, but then you don't get the emotional.
I'm just saying that. Like, I understand that the show, and again, I gave it 4 pips because of how they were forced to have conversation, and that conversation told me a lot about who the characters were at different points in time, which was delightful. Yeah. But the evidence exists throughout all timelines right there. Just fucking look at it.
Yeah. It's so similar to the Voyager episode where they have that the thing that's invisible, but 7 of 9 can see it with her eye.
Yeah.
And it's present in the same place in every single timeline. Like, there's lots of Star Trek time travel homages in this episode. I like it. My next one was oh shoot, where was it? Ooh, where did it go? Oh, there it is. I mentioned this in the episode, but I really do want to hammer home how stupid it is that Stamets happens to see this bug. And it's not just that a human has been able to spot this bug. The only human that is immune to time shenanigans happens to be the one human that spots the spider and can help out. Like, this plan is excellent, and this plan should have worked. They only get foiled by Stamets being the person that spots the spider thing. And that's insane.
Yeah.
That is so incredibly unlikely.
Yeah.
It's so unlikely. And I actually feel bad for Locke and Maul for like just how this should have worked, but didn't.
I am going to sin that in the future scenario when they're touching the dust of their dead fellows. They really do spend a lot of time reflecting on who they were. Like, use that time to figure out how to stop this shit. And pacing wise, yes, we can take a beat. And yes, it sucks to realize that this is going to be your inevitable future. But you're not there yet. And you have time. Like, you've got maybe a full minute to talk to Zara and come up with a solution and learn more information.
Yeah,
but instead,
use the AI while you can.
She's just sort of like casually walking up to her chair and, just disrupting the death all around her.
Just inhaling it.
I just kind of was almost yelling at the screen, like, do something.
There's a lot of has time for this in this episode.
Yeah, there is.
There was a couple where like Burnham our Burnham talking to old Burnham. I was like, you don't have time to be giving her words of advice right now. You have to get to engineering. She doesn't have time to be kissing Book. Like, what she has to do when Book walks into her quarters is run past and just say, gotta go. Done. That's it. No apologies. No, don't make an excuse. Just say, gotta go. Be right back. Stay there. I'll be back. Don't worry. Gotta go. She's done weirder things than that. Like, just, you do not have time to get sentimental with Book. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah, there was a lot going on in this one. Let's see. I'm going to go into the chat in the past and see if there's anything.
Mm-hmm. David just came up with a funny one. Michael asks Zora what happened. That's a violation of the Temporal Prime Directive. She should know better. So should Zora. I love that. Little slap on the wrist from the Temporal Time Police. Yes, I know I just said time police.
I'll read one for the chat. This is Flyboy's biggest sin. The incredible and fortunate coincidence of the time bomb going off at the precise moment that Burnham and Raynor are beaming, accidentally themselves into the situation.
This is what I'm saying about, like, Mock and Lowell just really getting unlucky that Stamets, Raynor, and Burnham, three people very well equipped to deal with this, are the ones that are immune to the time slippage.
There's a potential.
Basically, I wonder how anyone gets out of it.
There's a potential for this episode to have resolved itself with just Paul or Stamets or whatever his name is to have solved this problem and this to have been centered around that person's personality. But I think that they knew that they needed to have some forward momentum with the characters. And they did a really good job of, like, choosing to, make it, oh, isn't this just such a coincidence? But I have seen so many near death sort of accidental things, like on video cameras, on security cameras, where someone just happens to step to the left as a car comes careening by.
Goodness.
Like, we are all accidentally still alive somehow. So maybe something like this is a little bit more believable in some ways.
Over the course of time, the universe is so big and time is so long that
so silly.
Unlikely things can happen.
Yeah.
My next one, this is back at the beginning of the episode again. The bad guy changes the deal at the last second cliche and asks for more money.
Oh, yeah.
And then when, I think I called them Mock and Lol earlier. That's not their name. Lock and Moll. Moll says, consider this an expensive lesson in how not to do business. Lessons don't usually kill you. It's not a lesson if you're dead. You don't have anything to learn from it afterwards.
Yep.
You died. Language is important. I've just got the one more before we hit predictions.
Okay. Well, there's a nitpicky one from the chat from Sci-Fi Brony that says it's the wrong Arium for this time period.
Yeah, I think this is season 1, so it should be the original Arium actor, not the new Arium actor.
Yeah. I guess you can't really help it whenever that person says, I will never get into that costuming again. So.
Yeah, I'm not fucking doing it. It's hideous.
Oh, and I also, I do have another one in my brain, so go ahead. And then I've got another one.
This is so mean, but I wanted that hand injury to last. I wanted that to be...
I don't think it's over.
Really?
Really.
Oh, you think he's fucked up?
Mm-hmm. I do.
But he flashed it to Burnham. and it was all healed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hope so. So when he had his hand in there and you could see it aging, and I'm like, consequences, mother front door, make this last. And then when they went back into the future and his hand was fucked up, I was like, yeah, wither that thing. Give him a war wound. Like, carry that with you, sir.
Yeah,
It looks like they healed it.
I think that's going to actually impact him on some sort of cellular level, and I think he's going to have a ticking time clock for his own death.
Nice. That would
prediction.
Be interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. There was a mention of one in the chat earlier, and it was kind of similar to one that I had, which is carrying things around with them. Like they'll pick something up and they'll take it with them whenever, or at least I thought that they were going through time with items.
Yeah.
And because they made the little dealy bob
thing.
To capture the spider.
Yeah.
And then how does that go through? And if that's the case, and maybe it's because you're being really, really good and you're not taking things with you, I would just be grabbing stuff from each timeline and be like, oh, I missed that mug. Oh my God. Yep. Oh, I loved that. That plant was so cool. And just like you come back to the present with just like this backpack full of shit.
Yeah. This is where oh, I'm going to turn on that paper shredder and nobody will understand why.
Shut up.
This is where this stuff went missing. Like I have to pick up the stuff so I can get it back.
But I was kind of curious about that. That just seemed to be like I guess
it's otherwise. So they would be naked. So it makes sense for me for Michael and Raina because their uniform stayed with them.
Right.
It's creating a bubble around them. So I think anything they hold on to continues to be with them. Doesn't make sense for Stamets. He is inhabiting his body. The only reason he's immune isn't because of the transporter. He's immune because of his tardigrade DNA. So it's different. So he's replacing himself at each point. So
and no one's noticing that he's aged?
I mean, it's only like 3 years. How much do you age in 3 years?
Have a kid, you'll find out.
Fair. I don't think he's had a kid. I don't think he's pushed a kid out of his vagina. As far as I can tell.
I can look that up on Wikipedia later.
Yeah, I think so.
Did Paul have a vagina?
I don't necessarily think he's taking the same pad with him. I think he's picking up an existing pad on Discovery and then using that to do his calculations and whatnot.
Okay.
I think that would be my time travel logic.
That's interesting. Okay.
Well, as always, there's always time travel shenanigans. We'll just admit that the time travel stuff doesn't make sense and we can move along. Let's go over to the Captain's Ready Room and do some predictions. So I don't think we touched on my prediction this week, which was completely unnecessary. We're finally going to meet the Zenkethi, and we're going to do some very elaborate dealings with the Zenkethi, and then there's going to be a betrayal of some sort. No! Because we're spinning our wheels, and we're not going anywhere. We're not meeting the Zenkethi yet, and I don't think we ever will. You edging bastards. You Zenkethi edging sadists.
Yeah, no, that definitely did not happen.
Did not come true. Yours did. You pretty much exclusively said there will be Raina development this week between Michael Burnham and Raina, and yeah,
I got 1 of 3.
Well
I mean, I had kind of 3 points, but I feel like that one was I'm glad that they did. We needed it to move on, and now I'm really curious what next episode's going to be because we're definitely going to have to get back into this mystery.
Well, for sure. Next episode is called, and I'm bursting because I want to predict what's going to happen. Mirrors. What happens, Ambassador? And you have to go first because my prediction will spoil you.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering if there's other episodes called Mirrors or something that would be like, okay.
Damn it! I couldn't hold it in.
Wow. Since the
chat.
I got my chat's covered. Since the show is kind of asking us to reflect on whether the character development is going to warrant them finding this progenitor thing. I wonder if it's going to be like a theme on looking in the mirror and seeing yourself and what you're about. But having just watched this episode and having already had a big old dose of that, this one probably should have been called Mirrors because they're looking at themselves a lot. or at least Michael is. I don't know if they're going to do that for every person. I also would challenge you because mirrors, if you would hope that they would not repeat the same theme from the same episode within themselves. So maybe it's going to, your prediction might be like, oh, it's going to be like this mirrors from this other Star Trek thing. But I don't think they would do that. Go on. What's your prediction?
So
I have lots of predictions. I said,
right.
let's just make sure in this prediction section, I'm talking about like, I definitely had some predictions about what Raynor might be doing too. So those are kind of in there, but I think those are more seasonal, maybe arc predictions for like the next episode. We're gonna have to get into Lock and Maul some more, I think.
You would think so. So I agree with you. I'm literally split 50-50 because my gut instinct prediction based on the episode title doesn't really make sense, but I'm really confused as to why they've done it or why they've named it this. So in the history of Star Trek, there is the Mirror Universe, and there are a sequence of episodes called Mirror Mirror, In a Mirror Darkly, Through the Looking Mirror, whatever. And all of these episodes, there's one in the original series, there's a handful in Deep Space Nine, and they're about this mirror universe that in TOS, a couple of the crew members accidentally get pulled into it. In Deep Space Nine, they transport into it through this dimensional transporter. And it's this parallel universe, not a different timeline. It's a parallel universe where there's this Terran Empire and the Federation and Federation doesn't exist.
Hold on. Let me get my fucking chart out again. Hold on a second. Let me just get out my notebook. Okay. So there's there's an alternate universe where there's this other empire called the Terrans. The
Terran Empire. And basically, humans are evil. The conceit is that
that's normal.
Humans spread through the galaxy and are evil. All of the alliances that we know are different. So I think the Klingons have teamed up with the Cardassians. Anyway, everything's sideways. Spock is evil. Or kind of evil.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes, very sure.
Okay.
So lots of things are different. Captain Kirk is evil in this universe. Cisco's off doing things. Picard is evil. There's everything you think you know is completely wrong. Tilly is a mass murderer in this universe.
Hold on a second. I'm catching a big theme here. Is this like everyone just turns into the ass version of themselves?
They're basically the opposite of what they are in this mirror universe. Enterprise does a big thing with it as well, which is interesting. But this is a thing that pops up again and again and again. And in season 1 of Discovery, the big crux of that is based on the mirror universe as well. So what's baffling me is that bringing in the mirror universe now doesn't really make sense for what this season is doing, where we're going. But I don't know why you call the episode Mirrors and not tie it into the mirror universe.
Oh, dear.
I would be baffled because just call it something else, because everyone is going to be expecting mirror universe because Discovery is tied to the mirror universe because of season 1.
Oh, I got it. That's what the next clue is.
It's in the mirror universe. I hope so. I actually do, because I will be so confused if this has nothing to do with the mirror universe. I will be baffled. Don't call it mirrors then. Call it reflections. Call it anything else. Don't include the word mirror.
Is there a character in the Star Trek canon that is the same in both universes?
Spock would be the closest. So I said
then Spock
was
has
evil.
the clue.
Yeah, perhaps. Spock was semi-evil. He was conflicted. So maybe Spock has the clue. Maybe that's who Burnham has to go to. Who knows?
Evil Burnham.
Possible.
Because once she goes through, then she's evil. Which means that
no. Because
then Maul and Locke would get the clue because they're good.
Not necessarily. So
what the fuck?
No, because you don't become evil when you visit. So you're the other version of you in this universe might be evil.
I see.
As you there.
So there's 2 of you then.
There's 2 of you that exist there. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. It gets interesting when they switch places. Yeah.
I mean, that would be really, it could be really interesting if they had to go and like convince a character that we love. So who would you like to see having the clue? Would it be Spock, or would you like to see somebody else have the clue? If this is actually where it's going. Let's just pretend.
If this is what happens, now that you've said it, it has to be Spock. Like, that just makes too much sense.
And it's played by
Yeah, Ethan Peck. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
so
your
sexy.
man. Uh-huh.
Oh,
That'll
I'm
work.
really gonna like next week.
There's a character called Lorca that everybody wants to see again, but I think he would be our good version of our proper version of Lorca would be in the Mirror universe, because the evil version of Lorca ended up in our universe. But anyway, that's who I would like to see. That would be a great callback to season 1. What I would like to summarize with this is that fuck you, Discovery, for making every episode a just carnage for me of having to, in the moment, Google all of the shit that I've forgotten so that I can explain it and not get it wrong. Like this, I had to go back and Google, like, what was the red wingsuit again?
What was the red wingsuit?
So don't ask.
You just brought it up.
So when Burnham is like, yeah, that's me, I'm in the Red Angel suit. In season 2, Spock is seeing all of these different red signals everywhere, and long story short, they figure out that it.
Look how much pain you're in. You've literally drawn your head down to your toes.
I've got a chat that's like going to be updating me as well. But Burnham's parents die. She thinks they both die, but what actually
Spock's
happens,
parents.
No. Burnham's parents, because Burnham is adopted by Spock's parents.
Burnham's birth parents.
Burnham's birth parents, correct, die in an attack by the Klingons.
Okay.
Her mum actually escapes because she's been working on this experimental time travel suit with Section 31.
Which is the bad one?
Section 31 are the sketchy police.
Sketchy Federation police?
They do the things that the Federation aren't allowed to do. Starfleet.
So they're not... they're Starfleet, but they're not...
Okay. Starfleet. So they're not evil, but they do the things that are unethical.
Okay.
So they're working on this time thing because Klingons have time crystals and they're worried about a time war with the Klingons. So they want to make this time travel suit. Burnham's mum goes into the future to save herself, sees that in the future, shit's gone sideways and everybody dies. So she wants to go back in time to prevent this from happening.
Okay.
Spock sees these flashes of red, which is her, and thinks they're these weird signals. And they are, and they track the signals. And then they Burnham eventually works out that it's her mum that's in the time suit, goes to talk to her, finds out what the mission is. They build their own time suit. Control also wants to build a time suit. Control, we mentioned last week, was the super AI thing that wants to rule the world and whatnot, rule the universe.
Okay.
The only way that they can do this, the only way that Control can win is if they have the sphere data. So Burnham uses the time suit they build on Discovery based on her mum's time suit to open up a portal that will send Discovery to the future and take the knowledge away from Control.
Okay, we talked a little bit about that happening last time, but now I'm learning that it's because she turned into a Red Angel.
Yeah, so they called it the Red Angel before they knew what it was, because this Red Angel came in and like.
Is this all in one episode?
This was all in season 2. This was the arc of season 2.
Oh, okay. You're trying to condense an entire season. Well done.
Yeah, an entire season into one bit. Yeah. So the Red Angel. I have
more questions.
Like Burnham was in front of Discovery and created this wormhole. They had to defend Burnham while she created this.
From who? From Control.
From Control and his and their minions, the AI minions,
but not the Klingons.
The Klingons were there somewhere too. Yeah.
Of course they were.
It was a lot.
That sounds like a lot. Yeah,
that's the summary of the Red Angel.
So what happened to the mom? Did she die?
No, she's still alive, I think, in the future. So she was tethered 900 years in the future, and I think she's still around. She's working with Navarre, I think.
Oh, of course, Navarre, a character no one can forget.
What Navarre is the conglomeration of the Romulans and the Vulcans.
Oh, of course. Navarre, the conglomeration of people in the future. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So that's season 2 of Discovery, and that's They just had to slip it in. When she said, "Oh, that's the Red Angel, that's me," and I'm like, this had better be important, and they never come back to it. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to explain this, but it has nothing to do with this episode.
I'm glad you brought it up because it was one of my questions that I had that I forgot
What's
about.
The Red Angel.
Mm-hmm.
So the Red Angel is a time travel suit, essentially. Yeah. So yeah, next week is got to be a Mirror Universe episode. That's my prediction, and I think you're right. That the next clue will be in the Mirror Universe, and they have to get it from somebody.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much of that'll make it into the episode. That's our predictions for next week. Thank you for joining us on this timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, super fun episode. I hope you enjoyed the episode of Discovery as well, and us. If you would like to message us your predictions and melt my brain, send them to captainspod@cinemasins.com, on Twitter @captainspodcs, X as well, whatever you want to call it nowadays, and to discord.gg/cinemasins, where we have a lovely, bustling Star Trek community of people talking all things Star Trek. But yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. And until then, I'm Captain Ian. And it's time to evacuate now before mushrooms grow on your lungs.
I'm waiting, Dr. Truffles.
Live long and prosper. Oh, golly.
Or my other one was, that was over the line. I'm sorry, Captain.
Yeah.
Which he did say.
I liked that, actually. That was a really consistent character moment. Like, he's like, well, I just like,
oh.
Now I'm getting too
much.
personal. I need to get distance.
Yeah.
Oh, golly.
Golly, Jiminy.
Golly, Jiminy gee whiz.
I did not. I was so into what you were saying. I didn't like change any banners.
It's amazing. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for all of your sins, everyone. You had some great, amazing sins.
Bye, Josh.
Bye, Josh.
This better be important and then never gets addressed as the main consistency of STD's inconsistency.
It can feel that way.
I definitely did not read STD as Star Trek's Discovery first.
We've kind of agreed to not call it STD.
Is that what people call it?
For that reason. No, nobody
okay.
really calls it that. It's Disco.
Okay.
Is the official title. The official shortening, I think.
Oh, see? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It tends to be the people that don't like Discovery that call it STD. Yeah. That's the official
really...
shortening. The Disco is great.
Mm-hmm.
I want that Disco t-shirt.
Disco, all caps. Or
Disco.
Stidis. I love you guys.
Disco, so let's go. Just give me the signal.
You have the
Ritos. That's the shortening of Cerritos.
Oh, the burrito!
The burrito!
New Shaw Who Dis. That would be a good new show Who Dis.
That would be amazing.
But wouldn't it be funny to have of Rainer and be like New Shaw Who Dis?
Yeah, that would be great. Who Disco? New Shaw Who Disco?
Mm-hmm. Good shit. I'm gonna go back into my god.
In the live chat. Oh,
that's really smart.
Yes, that's amazing.
Okay,
love that.
Ian.
Yes.
Sarah has to be in London in a week's time for 2 days. Is there anything Trekky that Sarah should do?
It's been a while since I've trekked.
Isn't there?
I don't believe so. I would Google if there's any like exhibits going on. I don't think there's any exhibits happening at the minute.
Okay, what is this? Paramount London Resort with Trek Attraction 2020 opening. Paramount London Resort. It's a proposed entertainment resort that would include a Star Trek themed area. Did that ever happen?
Oh yeah. No, not that I know of.
Holy shit, that would have been awesome.
No, that would be incredible. They did they did something in Trafalgar Square a while ago. They did a Star Trek experience, which was really, really fun. And I went to that. Was that no? That wasn't in Trafalgar Square. That was Hyde Park. It was in Hyde Park, and that was fun. Yeah, nothing for a while, as far as I know. Go eat some good food though. London has some great food. Go to Camden Market.
Go to meetup.com. I went to meetup.com/London-star-trek-meetup. And there's like a little group there. 17 people that are in London who are Star Trek nerdies. I mean, do you want to meet strangers for a Romulan
Nope.
ale at some random pub?
Sarah, please don't. Please don't meet strangers.
Sci-Fi Spectacular Star Trek London Fall Fiesta on April 20th, tomorrow.
Wait, why is there a fall fiesta in April?
I don't know. Listen, this could be the most sketchy thing ever. I'm doing in the moment Google searches like a professional.
Yeah, don't do that.
Man, it'd be kind of fun though. If there was stuff going on, and if there was, it's like we went to New York a couple of years ago, and I think on my last day or the last 2 days in New York, we're talking about like, oh, I wonder if there's anything happening, and then looked up like local things happening. And had we pre-planned it, we could have taken a 3 or 4 hour little journey to go see a set that has, or like a place that has an actual Star Trek set.
Yeah.
Had we pre-planned. So
I can't remember where it
never
was.
know.
It was north.
Yeah,
New
it was
York.
like
it was up there.
New York State.
Yeah, but it was really, really fun.
Because we went there for a work thing, and then I think it was like the last day or the second to last day, we just happened to look up to see. We were looking to see if there was any exhibits for Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, we were actually looking to see if there's anything in New York, and we was like, damn it, we just cannot justify this 6-hour round trip to go and see.
I think we ended up going like, let's go to this used bookstore, and then we went into this used bookstore, and it was something out of a movie. It had the really high. It was really small, and it turns out it was like a curator's bookstore where everything there is a collectible book, usually like first edition leather bound stuff.
Origin of the Species.
Right, it's all behind glass, and if you want to see it, they take out the gloves and they put it. So we kind of like looked around at the different things, and there was a couple books. One of them was something about pirates, I think. It was really interesting stuff. And original Darwin was there.
Yeah, that was it. It was on Origin of the Species. It was like a second or third edition. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was very
He might have touched it. Very, 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 very cool.
All right, Moopsie versus cicadas.
Cicadas, man, because they just don't stop. It's just sheer numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers just overpower.
I think I agree. Yeah. How about Moopsie versus Time Bug?
Oh, I was just going to give Katra a love heart.
Oh.
Bing. Moopsie versus Time Bug. Time Bug just like dominates. Like Moopsie touches it and atrophies
it's locked
immediately.
In. Well, or is that true? Because if it's just the Time Bug and it's not attached to like an engineering space, it's kind of just a useless weapon.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think that this. I think this would cancel itself out. Yeah. Yep. Cancel out.
I think Moopsie just wouldn't be interested.
Yep. Oh, nope. That was a sin removal. Although a good one. Moopsie versus the de-age your kneecaps.
Look, time is doing a good job of de-aging my kneecaps as it is, or whatever it is. It's atrophying my kneecaps.
Can I help you, buddy? What do you need?
What's up, puppy?
You okay? What is it? Who knows?
Could be anything.
Sin removal. Sins aside, it's a really fun time travel episode and argue one of the best Discovery episodes ever.
Yep. I think it might be my favorite, closely followed by the other time travel episode.
Sin, if Burnham isn't the least bit open to Raynor's no-nonsense, all-business style, she should have never invited him aboard the USS Feelings.
It really is the USS Feelings. It really is. There's a lot of feelings on that ship.
I'm kind of glad that I haven't seen it all. I don't
You would
know that
be-
I would.
I think season 2 and 3 would frustrate you greatly. Because that's where it gets really heavy into the feelings. And talking. Lots of talking.
Yeah. No, thank you.
No thanks. Skip.
No. Sin, I think they're too familiar, too comfortable with each other, and frankly with you. Commander Raynor would be excellent at Discovery, Sins.
Yeah.
Calling it out.
And I wonder if some of that is to combat the criticism of Discovery as well.
Sure.
Like, this gives Burnham an opportunity to explain why this Star Trek is the way it is.
Well, and I think that sometimes during this episode, I had that feeling of like, oh, this is them answering this question. This is them answering this question, whether they're intending to do so or not.
Yeah. Interesting question from Katra. What would a mirror universe Q be like? I don't even want to think about it. Maybe he would be benevolent, but then why would the Terrans be around? But this is always going to be the problem with Q. It's always like, what's Q doing right now?
Does Q exist outside of time?
Yes, in a word.
So would they be impacted by a mirror universe?
Maybe they wouldn't. Well, no, but this is parallel. So we're talking about a parallel time as well. Maybe Q doesn't exist in this parallel universe.
It'd be easier writing wise if that was the case.
Right?
It's strange to bring up Q as well because I was thinking about Q being in the next episode. So if that happens, I'm going to kick myself for not saying something about it.
No, I don't think Q will be. I think they actually mentioned that they haven't heard from the Q continuum in like 700 years.
They died.
I think they did that last season.
They all died out.
Yeah.
Or they're on vacation together. I wonder if Zora dreams of electric sheep.
Yeah, I think she might ask that at some point.
What?
It's a book. Do androids dream of electric sheep? It's a book that kind of
Oh.
ponders what do androids think about.
Interesting. Let's see. Why are they using the term time cycle instead of jump? Wouldn't cycle indicate more of a loop, like in the best TNG episode?
I think it's because the bug is cycling.
Oh, yeah, that's true because it
Bug
has that.
cycles,
Yeah.
jumps them again. So I think it's just cycling like a diagnostic would cycle.
Here's a question from Flyboy, but it's also a sin. Okay, question. Did the showrunners drop in a reference to the temporal war just to let us know they haven't forgotten it? Unless they pay that off somehow, I'm sinning it.
Yeah. There's a temporal Cold War at some point that Enterprise talks about, but I think the idea was to prevent that from happening, and I think Enterprise did. I think.
If the captain's quarters are biometrically secured, says Sci-Fi Brony, how can Book walk in and out?
Yeah, I thought about that, and that just because it's secure doesn't mean you can't add somebody. So I
Yeah.
can add someone's fingerprint to my phone. So I would imagine Book has been added to the biometrics, but Rayna at this point in time wouldn't have been.
My sin in that moment was possibly going to be, because I would have had to have asked this question, like, how long has that been the case? Because we just saw a Picard episode when Chicky Bomb Bomb was just like archaeological chaos lady was in his room to start off in that scene.
Yeah.
So how long has that been the case? Because it wasn't the case in TNG times.
Sure wasn't.
If she remembers when Osira or Osira, whatever, attacks, why did she only remember because of Black Alert and not the actual star date? Oof.
Yeah, it's a good point. I guess she's collecting lots of bits of evidence, but yeah, the Black Alert shouldn't. They've gone to Black Alert a lot of times. So I can't remember. There must have been something else in that scene that triggered her as well.
How can you ban time travel anyway? If someone comes from the past, they can't be held accountable for future rules. But if someone comes from the future, then they wouldn't have gone to where it was banned unless it was an accident.
Yeah, that's true. Once it happens, you can't really ban it. It exists. I don't know how you would go about banning time travel.
Unless my memory is failing, says Flyboy. This is the first time in a long while we've seen Burnham use the neck pinch. Until one of you nerds corrects me, I'm sitting that gap.
Yeah, I don't remember it. Not for a while. I think she uses it in season 1, but it's definitely been a while.
Dust is mostly not skin cells, actually. All right, Wandering. Well, what the fuck is it? What is dust made of? In space, specifically.
Right.
What is dust made of in space in a starship. Let's see if Google can answer. Oh, no. Wow. Cosmic dust, also known as space dust, extraterrestrial dust, or stardust, is made of a variety of elements, including rock, ice, minerals, organic compounds. The composition of dust depends on where it's found and how it was formed. For example, dust from an iron-rich meteor is made of iron, while dust from a meteor made of silicon is made of silicon. Well, okay.
What?
So then it's people.
Yeah, I guess it'll be people.
It really is people.
Soylent Green is people.
Gross. That's so grim. Isn't that grim? That was
life.
grim.
It's life. It happens. People die.
They're breathing their friends.
Yeah. We always are. If you're spending physical time with them, then yes, you are. We're shedding all the time.
Maybe it was dust that set off my paper shredder.
I think so.
Like just a big clod of dust just kind of fell down in the mechanism and just set it off, you know?
Well, there's just like a little bit of paper that was still dangling there and
For all
breeze
this
just
time.
triggered it.
Yeah. That's right.
It's more likely than ghosts.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I love the continuity as well. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
More Jet Reno.
Woo! Taking the Toro!
It was fun to see that character again. And just to kind of see the
It's fun when she
sassiness.
pops up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sin for later, they give him the money, then he touches the poison, then double crosses them and dies. What if he didn't double cross them? They were going to murder him anyway? Mortar, I said. Don't they have
Moira.
ethics? Yeah, they don't have ethics. She specifically said she was killing him for what his species did to her. What was that about?
I don't know. I mean, she's human, right?
Well,
I don't
do you know
know.
what I mean at the beginning? Because she says something. Let me see if I wrote it down, since I kind of typed mindlessly. I did. Okay.
Good job.
This is a close quote. We heard you might try. This is what she says. We heard you might try something and came prepared. The latinum is poisoned. It's the kind you sold to the Emerald Chain, or the kind you sold to Emerald Chain on people like me.
Oh,
Extensive
okay.
lesson on how not to do business. So what is the Emerald Chain?
The Emerald Chain is the Orions, so it's like their version of like their federation, their alliance. So the Orions are.
Oh,
then
isn't that
treated-
what's her name
Tendi.
is? Tendi?
Tendi? Yeah, exactly. But
remembered.
Orions, you did. I'm impressed. Attendees. Orions tend to be pirates and slave traders, and the Emerald Chain is their organization.
So when she says latinum is poisoned, the kind sold to Emerald Chain on people like me, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think they were using it on. I don't specifically know, but I guess it was a poison that was used on her people at some point.
The poison that killed Cusco. Cusco's poison.
Cusco's poison. Yeah.
The Orions and the Andorians have an alliance and created the Emerald Chain.
There you go. That's the one.
It's the future Orion Syndicate.
Yeah.
Hashtag not all Orions. Thank you.
Yep.
They were using the poison to punish the slaves. So were the humans Orion's slave?
Not all humans. I think this is just specifically like applying to her and whatever her group of people were.
He sold poison to the Emerald Chain, which they used on her people. So who is her people?
I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know yet.
Okay. So we don't know.
But no, book said that she is human.
Yeah, I think
we
so.
know that she's human and not Quaishon. But I don't know specifically.
But she's not Orion because she ain't green, yo.
No, she's not. So I think her people just might refer to her group of people.
Let's see. If you are unlucky, then yes, you are a slave to the Emerald Chain. Okay. So the Emerald Chain is getting their latinum from this particular species that they just murdered. And they're like, we're going to murder you because you were giving latinum to, or poison-laced latinum, maybe?
No, I think they were just predicting. They were just expecting this to go sideways.
Right.
So they were like, we knew that you were going to double cross us, so we poisoned the latinum.
If you lived in the Emerald...
It's just a bit fucked up if he wasn't going to double cross her. because then he dies anyway. Like if he's like, well, thanks, great deal.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm actually going to give you a discount. And then
but even if he did that, their point was to kill him to prove a point about her people.
Right. Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
So
I think once they found out his species, they were just like,
let's kill him because of what he was doing to her people. So, okay, here's what Nick says. If you lived in the Emerald Chain territory, they kidnap people and force them to work as the indentured servants, essentially slavery. I think she said, now I'm not entirely sure because I guess I could go back and try to watch it real quick if we're really interested. But I try to like type what's being said as fast as I possibly can. And I had it as my people.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I just think it's what Sarah is saying. I think her people are the other slaves.
So she was a slave.
I don't think it's like all humans or all of anything. I think
she was a slave in that area.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
She said people like me. Okay, there you go. Oh, yeah. People like me. People like me. That's what I have.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll just be, slaves and people
and then my next note is he dies in a squawky way. And they take it back. And he says he feels like the walls are closing in. And you know what that means? He gonna die.
And then she's going to feel guilty because he's the one that wanted to pull out and she wanted to continue.
Yep. Bye, bye. Give our love to Baby Slap.
Bye, Slap.
We are going to bounce. It is 3:17 Central. We got some shit to do. Thanks, everybody, for being with us again this week. Make sure I'll just check next week's calendar just to make sure we're looking like a normal week for us before you go.
I think everything's the same next week.
Yep, sure looks like it. Looks like Recotopia, same time on Tuesdays and Fridays. So if you are on Discord, which is discord.gg/cinemasins, we put up our schedule there and alter it, update it if we need to. And then we try to put it up onto the Twitch channel for CinemaSins. So CinemaSins live channel on Twitch will have our schedule. If anything changes, we try to give you an update on Discord and Twitter as fast as we possibly can. I love that.
Love that.
Well, you'll be missed history. I hope you recover well. Again, sorry about an accident. That sucks so bad. Glad you'll be here next week to help me bother Ian about Discovery. Thanks, everybody, for all of your knowledge and your updates. What? J.A.? I thought Arwen lived for a really fucking long time. It was only a year? Thank God. Thank God. 365 days of torture is way better than a lifetime. Well, and a lifetime for an elf. Thank you. Thank you. That's going to heal something in my heart. I appreciate that. We're really just bringing everything to life here on the show. I hope next week's episode goes well to you guys. Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching across all platforms. It's interesting. We'll see like the Twitch numbers, and that's not even accounting for a large audience that watches on YouTube and other locations. So our little live show just keeps growing and growing. Thanks for telling your friends about it and for reviewing us on any of the places that you do or you recommend us. We asked you last week to help us out by going on to forums and just talking about our show, and we really appreciate your
Watch.
We appreciate your love of the show. We love doing this with you. So we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now. Live long and prosper.